What up, people? Welcome to the O.O.C. Just had to pop in here real quick to let you guys know that a friend of ours in the community had a loss. So we're gonna have a moment of silence at the 1 minute mark. I am going to just keep the banner up. I'm not gonna play any intros, and we're just gonna have a moment of silence. This is for LDG. For those of you who don't know, he lost his father the other day. So our hearts and our prayers go out to LDG, and the moment of silence will begin now. See, got my boy Roberto in the house. What's up, Roberto? How you doing, man?
What's good, Ford? What's good, Nzo? What's good, peeps?
Doing good, doing good. Can't complain. So, like I said at the top of the show, guys, for those of you that don't know, LDG, good friend of the community, he helps out a lot. Had a tragic loss in his family today, so we're all there.
Condolences. My condolences.
Absolutely, all there trying to help and support, and just be there with him. I was in his backstage the other day, all day, just chilling. I canceled the chaos list so that I could chill with him. So our hearts and prayers go out to you, brother. So what's up, Roberto? How you doing, man?
Well, with the somber news, LDG is my boy. I really feel for him because, regardless of how far we've come in life, when you lose your parents, it's a tough one.
Mm-hmm.
You know better than me. Um, Other than that, man, I'm just here, just trying to get some shit off my chest. Hopefully, we can get some of our loyal followers to get more involved in this one because I have a little more to say this time.
I can't wait to hear it, right? And as you guys seen in the title, it says Colin Kaepernick Part 2 because Roberto actually had a chance to see it. So we'll get into a few discussions with that. He also had a topic he wanted to get off his chest. First thing I wanted to start talk about is, how do you get over the death of someone in a family? I've experienced it. I lost both my parents, and it's a hard thing to get over. It really is, man. You know, and we're at the age now where the older generation is actually starting to pass away. You know what I mean? Like you gotta expect it. And he said something in the backstage where he was like, "Man, I was preparing for this day, but you can never understand until the day comes, and that is exactly correct. Same thing with me. As I got older, I used to prepare for when parents getting older, how long do they have? And I remember my mom told me that my dad, they were in the room one day and they were talking about, buying a house and probably going back to Nova Scotia and living out the rest of their life there. And he was like, yeah, we got to do this quick because we maybe like what, 10 years left of our lives. And come to find out he didn't even have that. So it's kind of messed up experience. It's hard to sit here and like want to say all kinds of things to the person like don't worry, it'll get better and this and that, but it's always there. You know what I mean? It's been almost 20 years or more since my parents passed away, and it's always there, and I still remember both of those days like they were yesterday. So you know anything to say on the matter, Roberto?
Um, Me and death. I know it's like maybe it's common to people. I don't handle death very well. It's a subject that you know, as tough as an image or whatever I portray, I got a really big heart. That when it comes to death, for whatever reason, that faucet just opens up and you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I know it's inevitable. We're here only for a minute. As much as it is inevitable, it's hard to accept.
Mm-hmm.
As much as you prepare for it, you're never really prepared.
Mm-hmm.
And you just hope that you have some strength around you to get you through it. And celebrate the good times will help you get over the hard times.
That is
So
correct.
I hope to practice what I preach.
No, I feel you, man. And it's a lot harder to do, but this is why I say, like, you know, life is short. So all that petty shit, you got to put that to the side, man. You know what I mean? Because you never know. One day someone's there and the next day they're gone, man. So if you have family members or stuff like that that you don't talk to and it's because of some petty shit, drop that shit, man. Just drop it. You know what I mean?
You
Life is
sending me
too
something subliminal, man?
No, not at all.
Okay. Because I was going to say, I run that show, F Your Ego. Um, in some cases, you got to keep a bit of your ego because it is who you are, and or at least for what you stand for. And some of these things you have to keep like stripes on your shirt.
Hmm. Yeah,
And
but I don't
that's how
think the
you.
system. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. My bad.
No, I was gonna say that's how you basically earn respect and give respect. Because
Hmm.
everybody's a character, and if you can't accept that everybody's a character, then you're gonna have problems.
Hmm. And I was just gonna say, I don't think your situation is pettiness, right? That's a
Okay,
little bit deeper than what's going on there. But I'm just talking about,
I hear you.
stupid argument, and it's like, oh, I'm not speaking to this person no more. Yeah,
Stupidities, stuff that could be squashed easily, but
with a phone call. You know what I mean? Sometimes you don't even have to apologize. You just have to pick up the phone and call, and it's like, hey, what's up, boom, boom, and everything goes on, and you're talking and nothing. You don't have
but
to
there
worry
is the
about
point
anything.
of righteousness.
Hmm.
You can't be the victim and always mending wounds. You know what I mean? At
Hmm.
some point, you got to stop getting them wounds, man.
Hmm. No, I
Keep
feel
that,
you
that
one hundred
rope.
percent. No, I feel you 100%. You know what I mean? That's why I say your situation is a little bit different. So it wasn't to you or anything.
I
I'm
hear
just
you.
talking.
I don't know why I'm getting all defensive because this is just a touchy subject. I wasn't really
Hmm.
prepared for it.
Yeah, I know. But that's how I do it. Sometimes I'm thinking I just want to get your raw reaction to things, so I won't tell you what I have planned before. You know what I mean?
I'm
And
trying to go without the glasses. I can't really fucking see what people are saying because I'm tired of looking like I'm back in the future with these fucking bifocals on, man.
well,
You know what I
Jason
mean?
Lee Tucker's in the house. King David's in the house. G Major is in the house.
I
G
can see
Major's
Tony
going.
Robinson, Captain Capital. That's what I'm gonna
Tony
call him.
Tony Robinson is in the house too. G Major just messaged me on my earlier stream and was like he just went through um said chemo for his
Oh
um
shit!
yeah, but he said everything is good, so
Respect.
hope
Be strong, yo.
hopefully everything is good there.
Be strong.
Um
Think positive.
And like I said, man, we all have issues. We're all going through things. You know what I mean? You never know what's gonna happen.
What's
That's
up,
why I
Paul?
say some of this petty stuff. What's up, Paul? How you doing, brother? Glad you can make it. That's why I say some of this petty shit that goes on between people and stuff like that. You got to get rid of that, man. You know, because just like there, man. I felt his pain, because I went through it. I went through the same situation. I watched my dad die, and I felt his pain. That's why I was like, "Yo, I'm canceling my show, and I'm just gonna chill with you." You know what I mean? Try and make you feel better, whatever. Can't get the person's mind off it. It's fresh. It just happened, but at least he can see the support that he had from all of his friends in the YouTube community. You know what I mean? So that's what I tried to do. But at the end of the day, guys, like I said, live your life to the fullest, enjoy every minute of it because it can be taken away from you just like that, man. So that's all I wanted to say on that topic. Before we get into the Colin Kaepernick stuff, Roberto, tell the
Yes,
people
sir.
what you were telling me in the backstage.
I wish I had the link to send it to you, but my friends are very diverse. One of my good friends, he's Israeli, and while we're having a bong session, he goes to me, "I want to show you something," And I thought it was maybe some cryptocurrency shit, something to make money.
Hmm.
And he shows me this shit for RBC, Royal
For
Bank
the
of Canada.
Americans, it's our
For those
banking
of you who
system.
don't
Yes.
know, it's the one of the bigger banks that we have here, right?
Hmm.
And I'm like, yeah. So goes, and I notice at the top of the header is two black people, right?
Hmm.
And I go, what's that? And he goes, tell me if you think this is racist. And I look at it. Obviously, I didn't have my glasses. He goes to me, yeah, it's about RBC's now offering loans to blacks, African. What did it say? Black people. Didn't even say because we're not African, nothing over here. We're just black
Right.
people, right?
Right.
Um, he goes, you think it's racist? And I was a little dumbfounded, like, because I mean, it's so easy to throw that racist label on stuff,
Right.
but were we seeing the racism for the same reason? So I asked him, what do you think? He goes, yeah, man, it's fucking racism. It's racism. Because why are you singling out a race? Why don't you have loans for white people, for Asian people, for Indian people?
Hmm.
Um, I go, that's a good point, but I see it for a whole different reason. He goes, what, you don't think it's racist? I go, I think it is somewhat, because basically they're stating now that they're giving loans to black people. So what are they saying, that they weren't giving them before? Because now, I mean, I don't know how to take this message. Like any black guy who walks in there with somewhat of a business plan, they're just going to be like that Eddie Murphy skit. Here's your money. And you just walk out saying, shit, nice. Or were we not getting them before because we were black? I don't know. How am I supposed to take this without analyzing it? What's your take on this, Anzo?
So hold on. I found this here. RBC Black Entrepreneur Program, taking action to support Black entrepreneurs. At RBC, we are committed to enabling economic growth and wealth creation for Black entrepreneurs through financing solutions and expert advice. We are also actively fostering community engagement through partnerships and programs in an effort to help establish a robust and enduring ecosystem of Black entrepreneurs. Now,
Blase, blase, proper wording. Basically, what you're saying is we are now giving black people money. If you could come in with a business plan that we can determine whether we want to give it to you, because we didn't say all black people, come with a business plan, we'll determine if we want to give it to you now. I'd like to know the percentage of how many people that go in there actually get these loans and who doesn't. That's what I'm curious to know.
it's a good question. The question, is it racism? I don't know because they do kind of programs like this all the time. I guess it just so happened that
But for
now it's the
who?
black people though.
I've never seen
Um,
a program subjected to whites, because if it was, the brothers be screaming now, that's white privilege or that's race. There'll be some label placed on it.
Right, but not to white people, but I've seen like to Asian people and stuff like that. You know what I
I've never
mean?
seen it.
I got a manding.
For me, they use like different culture people in the commercial, but to just single out a race, I know I've seen black offering black.
Hmm.
I've never seen, first of all, a Canadian bank. It's never happened.
Hmm.
I don't know. Maybe we have to get some Asian folk up in here to give us their uh, if they've ever encountered it. But for me, as a black person, I have never seen that. I saw minority. Now that could be anybody,
Hmm.
you know. But when you're specifically singling out a race, why all of a sudden, and how was it conducted before? Those are my questions, and I got to
Well,
get a business plan together.
you know what I'm saying?
You know what I
You know what I'm
mean?
saying? Because I'm looking
Business
here and
plan, get in line.
I'm looking at loans of up to $250,000. I'm pretty sure I can come up with something if you give me that type of money. You
If
know
we
what
get
I
enough brothers in the room with some chronic, you'll come up with a nice plan, yo.
mean? Fuck facts. But I don't know, man. For me, I'm glad they're doing it. You know what I mean? Because it just shows you that maybe back in the days that they weren't doing it. What are the percentage of the people that come in with good plans will get the money? How much people get the maximum? How much people get 50,000? You know what I mean?
I
So it
think
all
if I went in
depends.
there and said I want to be a talent scout, I want to exploit the talent that doesn't have a chance to get out there and show their skill sets. I need $250,000 to run this because I need people, I need a studio, I need all kinds of stuff, you know.
Hmm.
Something for the kids, always for the kids. Because if you really look at it, Anzo, what do they have besides a smartphone?
No, I feel you, but for them to give the money, they would have to see how you would make a profit. You know what I'm saying? So I'd say if we got a plan together saying we wanted to start a grow up, that might do something. That might get you 250 grand.
Good luck, brother.
Hmm?
Good luck.
That might
Good
get you
luck.
250 grand.
Oh
You
shit! But
know?
that might just be a really quick interview.
You think so?
Yeah.
Nah, bro. That weed thing is a big thing now. You know what I mean?
First of
So
all, to get that permit, you know it's going to cost you $1 million just to apply. So when you put that 250 grand together, what's
mm-mm,
that going to last you?
I can get my permit for 2 grand. 2 grand.
No, to grow for the government, not for
Yeah,
yourself.
but that's what I'm saying. You're not gonna say you're growing for the government. You're gonna say you're growing for yourself, right? But for a business wise type of thing. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
so I
You
want to open a weed store. I need money to buy all the stuff to grow my weed.
no, just saying that you need to have the stuff to grow. You're trying to get a grow up, you know what I mean? You want to get into the business and stuff like that. And if you could show, well, I guess that you can make good product, you know what I mean?
I want to see you roll with
You
that.
know what I mean? Hey man, if my weeds growing skills were better, I would. Hands down, I would.
But still, yo, I don't know. It's just, I mean, I hope some people could benefit from it because they weren't able to get it before.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know how long this shit lasts. So if you are in Canada and you haven't put a business plan together, I suggest you do it now. And I'd like to know why my Jewish friend got this email and none of my black friends got it.
Well, is he with RBC?
Yeah, so are my daughters.
Yeah.
I
Mm.
don't recall that email or them talking about that email. I have to
Could
find out, of course.
could have went to spam. You know what I mean? Could have been anything. Doesn't mean that they actually got it. I'm just saying like that email could have went to spam or whatever. Because like when I get stuff from my bank and stuff like that, like all that shit goes straight to my spam. So, but hey, man, I hope there's people out there that can take advantage of it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because there has been many times where we have been denied just because of the color of our skin. You know what I
Look,
mean?
Eddie made a skit from it, man. That was one of the funniest skits I saw on Saturday Night Live. Did you see that one?
Which one?
Where Eddie Murphy dresses as a white guy?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
That
And
is classic. When he gets on the bus,
uh
the
and he
last black guy walks off,
and
the
then his
pistol ball
party,
drops from the ceiling. The girl's all of a sudden, she's a waitress serving drinks. I'm like, this is hilarious,
and then
man.
he walks into the bank, and they're like just giving him money. Here, take
Yeah,
what you need. What you need.
yeah.
No, you don't have to worry about paying it back. Don't worry. Yeah, it is hilarious. Mr. Chen, what's up, Mr. Chen? He said they denied me at the bank for being from Nevada.
That's right, Caleb.
What's up, Caleb? What's going on? How you doing, brother? Again, glad you guys could make it. Much appreciated. So, I want to know from people in the chat: do you guys think it's racism? Do you think it's a racist campaign that they're doing? The fact that they're actually offering entrepreneurs, black entrepreneurs, loans. I mean, to be honest with you, though, when this pandemic was going on, though, bro, they were giving out money like crazy. I have my credit card. I have my credit card go from five 5K to 20K during the pandemic.
They want to get your ass in debt, yo.
They just kept fucking. They just kept
Don't they
fucking
need to ask you
improving.
permission to raise that shit? Who you with?
I was with No, I was the one asking them permission to
Okay,
raise it,
okay. Because they
and
can't
they
raise that unless you allow them.
yeah no, I was the one asking them, and they accepted it every time.
Hmm.
Every it was every 3 months I tried it. And I was just trying it to see if it would go through, right? Because I had bad credit for so long, right? And at this point, like, the business was going, everything credit was getting better. So that could be the reason too.
Of
But I was
course,
just,
they want you. They want you to get these
I
cards.
was,
You know,
I,
we did consulting for that shit. We know how
mm-hmm,
the system works. They want you in there. They
mm-hmm,
want to own you, and you pay the rest of your life. That's it.
mm-hmm,
Because when the money's gone, they know you're looking at that plastic, borrowing off of one to pay another. I got one just to maybe put gas if I'm low on funds, whatever. If it gets lost, I can't be damaged. Because to get them high limits, for me, it was dangerous. I had that experience, and now I can only teach it to my kids.
hey, you have to, man. You know what I mean? But as
Hmm.
I'm older now, I'm able to budget my money better and shit.
Man,
So
I need to see this fucking chat. I'm tired of this shit.
Mr. Chen
Okay.
said, "I hate banks. The conspiracy have truth in them." Film Elias, what's up, man? I think a bit. The banks want their interest points, blacks or white. They know it will appear as though they're helping young black kids. Who knows if they actually will? That's the thing, right?
True.
They
True. That's
have
what I'm
they,
saying. I want to see the stats on that.
because it's easy to put that shit out there, but are you really giving out these loans? You could be making it look like, hey, look, we're trying to help out you, poor little black, black. You know what I mean? Here, little, take this so that we can
Yeah.
own you and stuff like that. I don't know, man.
Where is Big Danny? Did he watch it?
Watch what?
You know what?
I don't know.
Because what I wrote in our little chat, he was like, "Oh yeah, I gotta watch this now."
Yeah, I don't know,
Because
man. What you
he
got there?
should.
That better not be no apple juice.
Some bubbly apple juice.
Yeah,
Got me
man.
some Boreal Doré. It's good beer, yo.
Oh, it's beer you're drinking. All
Yeah,
right, cool.
yeah, man.
Um, yeah, man. So I guess we can get into that now because it's going to be a pretty, pretty fire topic. So now, Roberto, we talked about it last week. What did you think about it? So let me ask you this. First question. What did you think about him comparing? Because this is one of the biggest topics that I've had in the chats and everything. What did you think about him comparing the NFL to slavery?
I mean, look, man. You see the way this kid was raised. You saw what he went through. Maybe he's a little misguided or extreme in his approach, right? But if you look at it third person, look at it through a window, it does reflect slavery, be it they're white or black. The way it's ran, the way. But listen, that's just it's a high performance sport. So
Mm-hmm.
you're looking for the best of the best.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I want to look at it that way, I got to say there's more slavery in hockey. Because when I was playing hockey, when I was playing double letters, coaches would literally break their sticks on our butt. They would
Mm.
make us do stuff till we puke. They were like treating us like garbage, like a
Mm-hmm.
slave more or less.
Mm-hmm.
But the final outcome was you became a better player.
Mm-hmm.
You learned, right? So
Mm-hmm.
on that level, I'd have to say yes. But you know what? Because this man has so much hate on him. And like I said, before I watched the movie, they will not see the truth if the truth was to slap or spit in their face.
Mm-hmm.
If I tell you, Anzo, I told you I'm soft, right? I'm a little bit
Uh-huh.
soft.
Yeah, yeah.
This fucking movie teared me up a couple of times, because what he went through playing sports, he went through playing a predominantly black sport. 75 to 80% of the kids and men who play football are African American. I
Yes.
was playing hockey. When I was playing hockey, you can't even say 2% were
Mm-hmm.
black.
Right.
So to talk about what you went through when you went to arenas and little towns to play hockey, I'll tell you one thing. I didn't go through what he went through in those towns, but inner city, I went through some serious fucking racism. Serious. Beyond what he went through.
Talk to them. Tell them what you went through. But first
Yo,
off, I want first before hold that thought. One more thing. I watched it again, and I don't necessarily think he was comparing the NFL to slavery. I think he was just comparing the process. You
the
know what I mean?
process,
The
not the
similar,
NFL.
right,
The
right.
whole
A lot of
process
people,
from the transition from college
right,
to NFL.
right, right. I don't think he was talking about the NFL in full. I think he was just talking about the process of how they pick the
The
players to
transition.
get in.
That's it.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Once they're in the NFL, you're there. There's no longer slavery. That's a job.
Right,
But you
right.
saw when he was referring to slavery, it was all the tryouts.
Mm-hmm.
There was no game footage. There was
Right,
nothing. It was all tryouts. So
right.
you take it for what it's worth. If you want, some people saw the ninth or whatever that date was in the Capitol, and they didn't
Mm-hmm.
see what we saw. So you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? People see
Mm-hmm.
what they want to see, yo.
For real. So talk to them. Tell the people what you experienced, Roberto.
Um, Maybe not necessarily
Thanks
to
for
those who
coming,
saw the
Pickle.
movie, huh?
I said thanks for coming, Pickle, but go ahead.
To those who saw the movie, you saw what he went through in the hotel and what that group of black guys that came in told
Mm-hmm.
him that they got kicked out and stuff like that for carrying on when they weren't doing nothing. Um, I used to walk into arenas where I felt like this big because, you know, again, I don't want to get all teared up and shit, but I was always more concerned about what my dad was going through in those stands because I knew
Mm.
what I could do on the ice.
Right.
I knew I could score goals and hit their son so fucking hard that they feel it and they can't
Mm-hmm.
do nothing about it because that's the game, right? And
Mm-hmm.
people ask me, Mendes, why you play hockey, man? Why you don't play ball or football? I said, listen, you ever see a fight in football? What happens when someone does something dirty?
Suspended, kicked out, whatever.
Soccer, suspended, kicked, the baseball, all of them. I said, in hockey, this guy calls me the N word. I'm breaking my stick in two on this guy's back, and I'll be back on the ice in 2 minutes. You ask me why I play hockey? Because my dad put me on the ice.
Mm-hmm.
Closest thing to cricket, baseball, and hockey. And that's what my dad put me on since I'm 3 years old. So this game was embedded in me. And you notice, Anto, I was all hockey.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I used to go in arenas. I had my name on my jersey, Mendez. They'd be screaming, Mendez Nig. Nig is the French version of the N word.
Mm-hmm.
The whole arena chanting it out.
Mm-hmm.
You know how much I'm playing high caliber hockey. And this is what I went through on the regular. The only time I didn't really experience it is when I had my home arena. Maybe there was some closets there, but all I know I had to do was perform on the ice to shut them up. I used to tell them when they used to call me Mendez Neg, I say, ask your mom about it. I always came with something to make these guys just hurt. That didn't work, score
Hey, Andrew,
goals.
what's
That
up?
didn't work, crack them in the board so they have a concussion. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't do that stuff today because today I would be suspended. I'd probably be on Pulse News for Madman on the Edge trying to kill people. But back in my day, you use that N word, you better hope that guy ain't strong.
For real.
So watching that movie, Anzo, just brought back a lot of memories, man. A lot of bad memories. But I never cried. I never went to the coach. Coach, you're calling me this. Never, never, never. I just
Mhm.
knew. There's one part of this movie that really people will, I don't even think, if you're not black, you won't comprehend.
Speak it.
When this kid was growing up and he was going through what he's going through, like when he got pulled over by the cops and shit,
Mm-hmm.
his parents never prepared him like my dad prepared me.
Facts.
My dad would always tell me, doesn't matter how good you are, you have to be 10 times better than them. And I used to get fucking mad. What do you mean 10 times? Why do I have to be 10 times? Why do I always have to be? It's just the way it is. And if you want to be here, you got to do it. And I started to realize it as I was playing. I was much better than these guys. I wasn't making a team. I wasn't getting letters. I wasn't getting stuff like I saw in the Kaepernick movie.
Mm-hmm.
Black quarterbacks? Are you kidding me? You're a receiver. You're a cornerback. They will not let you get there. Like they didn't want me to get that C on my jersey. A black guy with a C in a Quebec hockey league? No, Dread. It came down to the point where I was making jokes on my hockey the other night, and I was telling this guy who played high caliber hockey, I go, through all what I went through, I got drafted by Thetford Mines. You know where Thetford Mines is, Anzo?
No.
It's a mining town in Quebec.
Okay.
When I told him I got drafted by Thetford Mines, he looked at me like, you didn't go, did you? I go, no. Because for whatever reason, last minute they backed out. He goes, well, that's a blessing. You wouldn't want to go down there and play hockey, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that was a setup and they backed out. I don't know if he's just trying to scare me. I just know it was somewhere far from here. Thetford Mines is far from here, dog.
Mm-hmm.
And what I experienced inner city, I don't know if I wanted. I went to this little town, man, and I had to stay at these people's house. I was shitting in my pants. They had this big cross over my head, put me in a room like way in the back. I was like, what the fuck? Am I the pet here? What the? Yeah, I experienced some fucked up shit. My parents weren't there. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you went on
Mm-hmm.
those excursions, you got on a bus with your team, and you went for the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So, for the perspective of sports, that Kaepernick movie really touched me. What touched me even more is that this kid was not prepared, wasn't told that these things were going to happen to him. He just experienced them, and there was no one to acknowledge it with him
Mm-hmm.
until he bounced into other brothers who he went through the same shit he's going through.
Right.
So maybe that's why this guy is being a defender of blacks, because he's like, he thought he was alone all this time. And now he realizes he's not alone. It's all of his people going through this, man. But how could he know? He was raised by two white people.
Mm-hmm.
Could they
And what
prepare him?
and what did you think about when the moms called him a thug? What's up, Danny? He said he didn't watch
Obviously,
it, but appreciate it,
obviously,
Danny. Mm-hmm.
it affected him. But if he really knew what she meant, he would have left that house, yo.
But you see, the thing is too, right? With that situation, people don't remember. when the NBA did that dress code shit, it was all because of Allen Iverson.
Yes, I know.
Just like they show in that fucking show. The minute Allen Iverson started braiding his hair, and the minute he started embracing the black culture,
Hanzo, could I say something to you? I know I dominated pretty much of this conversation so far, but could I say, as you go through life, you know, I like to reflect. I'm a real reflector. I like to notice. I like to pay attention. What I noticed, and maybe people are going to say they knew a long time ago, but anything black that gets momentum is shot down. Tell me one that hasn't. Anything powerful that is black gets shot down, destroyed, embarrassed. Think about it, man. Think about it. Any transcender, any trend maker that is black, they fucking destroy them. Right down to Michael Jackson. If Michael Jackson's guilty of all that stuff, no problem. But why try so hard to destroy him when you know other people are doing it?
mm-hmm. I get you 100%, right? And that's what I was saying. Like, that was the one thing. And when I watched the first time, watched it again, I remembered, I'm like, yeah, man, yo, the NBA really fucking, like, it was thugness. And that was the image that Allen Iverson had. And they changed the rules. They put in the dress code. You know what I mean? They didn't say anything about not being able to braid his hair or anything like that. But at that point, they had to wear suit and ties and all kinds of shit. It was ridiculous, man. It was ridiculous.
He
100%.
was a trendsetter. He was a
Mm-hmm.
trendsetter because when
What
he
up,
came out with
MSK?
the and one gear, everybody was running to it. Anything Iverson touched, everybody wanted.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? He didn't portray that clean corporate Jordan image.
Mm-hmm.
He was the hood inner city gangster thug image that they want to put
Tattoo,
on there, you
hip
know?
hop. Yeah.
Oh, hold on to your wallet. He's coming. His hair is braided. It's all stereotypes that are created to inflict fear, man.
Mm-hmm.
And then they want to fucking say you're paranoid. What are you talking about? Anyone who says that, I want to punch them in their fucking mouth. That's how I feel right now. Call me an angry old black man because I'm fed up. I can't handle stupidity no more. If you can't get common sense, get away from me. I don't have time. I don't have time to talk to you. You know, I can't tolerate stupidity, man. And there's just so much around, Anzo. There's so much around.
Yeah, I know. It's ridiculous. I'm trying to get Pickle on there because we were having a big discussion in the chat. Looked like he's scared to come on with us, you know, because he
Why
has
is
a
that?
different point of view. He has a different point of view,
What's his point
and
of view?
and and you know, I want him to come on and say it. You know, have a discussion with us. Like, ain't nothing to be scared of, bro. We just gonna talk. You know what I mean? And we get your point on why you
He has
think,
an
because
opinion on on the movie,
on yeah, on
but
like
you know
the
what? It's out there for everybody to take what they take from it.
right.
Like, you know, if a movie comes out about the Middle East, I can only take it for what it's worth. Maybe I'm going to make the wrong assessment from it because I don't live there. I don't experience it. I need to get maybe different views to understand it. But that shit I saw in that movie, I experienced it. I don't need to fucking say, could that possibly? It happened to me. And
Mm-hmm.
it happened to thousands and thousands and thousands of brothers who were in sports. It doesn't matter if it's a black dominated sport. It doesn't matter.
Right,
We
but
always have to prove more. We always have to be that more attentive when it comes to authority. We always have to. Why do we
mm-hmm.
always have to? Is anybody else have to?
No, I agree with you 100%. But his points were more to the slavery comparison, and then there was another one that we never really got into talk to, which we are going to discuss today, where he said the acceptable Negro part, and we're definitely going to talk about that. So, hey, man, you damn right. Yeah, I'm gonna call you out, man. You know, you always want to talk. Come on and let's have this conversation, bro.
It's
I'm
called
cool with
off
it.
our chest. You know? If you have something that's legit, get it off your chest. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
you'll make us see something that I didn't see. Maybe because I experienced so much of what I saw in that movie, I was blind to some other things. But, if we're going to touch it topic by topic, I think this guy was just fucked from the get go because I'm not too crazy about interrelational adoption.
Explain
And
and
because,
talk. I'll be right back.
like I said, he wasn't prepared like majority of black kids are prepared, like how to be when you get pulled over by the police, how to be with people of authority, how to behave, what you got to do to excel. These are things that are told to you. And if they're not told to you and you just got to experience them offhand, just like that, who am I to judge how he reacts to it? You know? Everybody could say how they would, but throw them in the woods and let me drop a bear there and see how they're going to react. Everyone thinks they're going to run and, get away. You might even run into the bear through reaction. You don't know because you haven't experienced it. That's just my opinion, but I somewhat experienced it. So I can speak on his behalf of
Mm-hmm.
some of the things he spoke to. I never went through a Columbine for football, but I did tryouts for hockey, and I could tell you they're more like one and the same, man.
Yep. And I think I kind of agree with you because the one thing I did like about it is that you could see from the start he always wanted to embrace his blackness, you know what I mean? And he never really had anybody there, you know what I mean? So when he went to other places, when he tasted the food,
Thank
and
you. You just
stuff
took the
like
words
that.
out of my mouth. When he ate that food, did you see? He was like, "Oh my god, what is this?" Because not only that, his moms couldn't cook because you saw his father's reaction to the mom's cooking. So she couldn't cook from the get go, and then he went and ate some soul food, and he was like, "Damn, could you adopt a brother?"
Hey Pickle, I sent you the link same way, because doesn't seem like you're working or anything. If you said you were working, so I sent the link there. Come in and have a chat with us, brother. Film leader said, Anzo, I want to see you as a variant MCU Blade. You got that swipe slag right now. Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate it. But yeah, man. I it's for me. I know what you're saying. I don't know if it's for me to say like, oh, I really don't think that white people should adopt black kids or vice versa or whatever. I think if you're willing to let them embrace their blackness or whatever they want to embrace, then that's fine. But you could see that from this show that the family really didn't know what to do with him.
Maybe it's exaggerated too. I don't,
Right,
it
right,
could be. It could be
right.
exaggerated.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to ask me my vision of what I would think it would be like that, They're loving parents. They care about him. They feed him. They put a roof over his head, clothes on his back. They do all parents should do. But there's culture differences, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
when it's almost like you find out you're adopted at an older age. You see how people respond to that when they find
Yeah, yeah,
out?
yeah, yeah.
They're destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost kind of on the same level, like he doesn't look where he grew up. Like the brothers are like, what? You live there? you know? It's like Drake, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, man.
It's hard to tell. It's hard to sit there and say,
God bless
should
that family, adopted him.
yeah,
And like I
absolutely.
said, raised him, gave him a home, put food in his plate, clothes on his
Mm-hmm.
back. They did all they could do for him. They didn't mistreat him, but at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, they couldn't prepare him. And
Right.
and and I'm not saying I don't. I'm just not a fan of interracial adoption. I'm not a fan of it. People could make me see otherwise, but when I see stuff like this, these are my reasons for it.
Mm-hmm.
Because at some point the kid's twisted, man.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you 100%. You know what I mean? It's like he doesn't know which way is up, which way, he wants to embrace his blackness, but then he gets home and his mama says his hair looks like a thug.
But yo, what about his girl?
Oh, I love that part.
When she saw the picture, the mom saw the picture.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That wasn't fucked up.
Yeah, absolutely. And
then
even
she tries to push him on the white
girl. Mm-hmm. And even look, Paul came in. What's up, Paul?
Yo.
What's going on, man?
Hey, man. I'm on my back at the moment, so I'm not on the computer. I'm on my phone, so hopefully the audio is not trash.
No, you sound good. I see you came in to represent for Pickle, right? All good, bro.
I don't know, not represent Pickle, probably represent what I think, because I watched the whole thing. So I don't know if Pickle's seen it all yet, but I've seen I watched all 6 episodes in one day. So I binged the whole thing. I don't know. There are parts of this show that I've said it in previous streams. There are parts of this show that I can get behind. That soul food part that you're talking about, Roberto. I was like, yeah, this is when he first had a taste of his own culture. And I was happy about that. I actually really respect that he turned down multiple college
baseball
scholarships for baseball, and even $1 million deal to just go straight into the league to be a quarterback. That was his dream. But then the things that I struggle with is he'd make a point, and he'd make a point from his life, and he'd make this point that something happened to him. So every time he went, the concierge person was just a total racist to him. And that last one was oh, you're one of the good ones. And I was like, this is messed up. And I was fully on board with him. He's just swimming in a pool. Leave him alone. But then there was 3 times I feel he just went too extreme. The first time was in the first part, and we've talked about that at length. We can talk about it more if you want, but in the first 2 minutes, he compares being drafted for the NFL to chattel slavery. That was and I was like, okay, I've seen this already, so I was over the instant reaction to it, and I just moved on with the show. And the second time was when he did the microaggressions thing. And I was when that white dude was you're very clean. I was like, oh my God, do white businessmen actually say this to black businessmen? Do they say you're very clean before they hire them? I'm or is this just hyperbolic and extreme? Because I feel he was making, in my view, he was making extreme examples of stuff that he had gone through personally.
I don't speak like a typical black guy.
Yeah, articulate I've heard before. They use that to describe Obama 1,000 times.
You could foresee it kind of happening. Did he glorify it? Did he go a little extreme on it? Maybe he did. But again, the only reason I could say he is because he grew up a little different.
Yeah. Well, we saw that when he first started driving, and the guy pulls him over. And if he wasn't being, so I'm going to, for the sake of this, I'm going to assume that everything he said, because I could say, oh, if this was true, right? But for the sake of the argument, I'm going to say that everything that he says happened in his childhood happened the way that he said it did. Okay, we're not going to be extreme or anything about that. So when that happened to him in the car, and they're like, "Are you okay?" to his parents, as if he'd robbed them or was held them hostage or something. I was just this is messed up, and this is the black experience. And I saw, not to call film elitist out, but I saw him talking about it on Twitter, and what he was saying was right. As a white person, I've never experienced that ever in my life. I've never had those experiences where a hotel concierge has looked at me I've had experiences, and I can empathize in this way. I've gone into a store before, and I've had the person who owns the store look at me the entire time as if I'm going to steal something. And I'm and when I I reflected on that as like I was watching the show of him being looked at by this concierge when he takes like a cookie or whatever, and that woman comes up behind him, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But like I reflected on like that's what it felt, that's what it must feel like to be him 24/7 out in the white community. Like he is constantly being looked at as some thug, and like he even had that part where his mum called him that. Now I think personally he went really hard on his parents. I didn't like that because I the thug part was like I was like that's really not cool and she should apologize for that. I don't know if she did or not later on. We didn't really see, right? But his father encouraged him every step of the way. His dad encouraged him every step of the way, like drove him everywhere to like do his dream. And I felt like he was like, I was their second choice. And I'm like, that's not cool, man. I don't like that he said that about his folks. Like what happened was the first person they went to adopt fell through, and she was like, there's a second child that you can adopt. It just happened to be that he was him. Like it wasn't their second choice.
Right.
It was not cool that he called his parents out way too much. Yeah, like he called his father like gave up most of like his weekends to drive. Like he did what a father should do, man. And the encouragement that he portrayed that his father had for him in that movie, and his mum every morning going game day, like really excited for him. I just there were parts of it I was just like, man, you're not doing your parents a service here, man.
That's what he really went through. I mean, who are we to question? If it's a little extreme. This is what I said, Paul. Because this guy has been hated on so hard, no matter if there's truth to it, people are going to question it. It's almost like the klepto kind of thing. If something goes missing, it has to be the klepto. That's what I feel with Kaepernick. Because I myself sometimes question stuff too. Like, how did he know he was second? Did they tell him?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right.
And I don't think his dad would ever say that to him.
But maybe they did tell him. He didn't explain that. So now that we're all so quick to scrutinize and pick at every little element of the movie, opposed to just watching it and saying, "Wow, that's fucked up what he went through."
Well, yeah, we can say that. We can also say like what he said about his folks wasn't cool. Like so there's a scene right where they get the formal. We call it formal here. The prom photos back, right?
Yeah.
And it's him with the black girl, and I forget her name, and then he's left the room, so he's not in the room, right? But then he makes it out that his mother puts it away in shame. So we don't know that actually happened, and he doesn't know that.
In the drawer. So he's making that
assumption. He could make that assumption. But then why? Like, and then he makes it. Obviously, he could make that assumption because they were like, "You need to get with this white girl, like, and you need to go, to the dance with this white girl." And I was just like, "Damn!" I'll just be pure, honestly. Like, she had nothing on his like first love. Like, that was just like, for him, and even like reflects on that later. There was nothing like that.
Even the brother at his school was trying to push him.
To the white girl.
Exactly.
And like navy blue.
Blue. I was like, he said blue black is what he called her or something, and I was like, is that a thing? Is that an act? Like, I was like, is that actually a thing where black people call people blue black? Like, because they're so black
that they're kind of blue when the sun
or purple. Them. You're so black, you're purple.
Wow. Because there's a lot of things that's the thing, like a lot of things as I was watching this, like culturally I was just like, I don't know anything about what's happening here, like so I'm just going to accept that what he's saying is true, because otherwise I'm like assuming there's a lie going into this and there's no point in watching it. So like I watched it with an open mind, but I don't think the acceptable, and you're going to talk about the acceptable Negro part, that part really pissed me off, like especially the Carlton part, because there's an episode inside Fresh Prince where he tries to join a black club and they say he's not black enough, and Will like berates the guy that says that Carlton's not black enough because he dresses in a sweater. And I was like, the problem with this is you're gatekeeping what blackness is and what whiteness is. If I decided to dress like Nzo tomorrow, is that me appropriating blackness, or is that just deciding to do a fashion style? Like
But you're
it's
gonna
like
have people telling you, "Yo, you got soul in you today. What's going on?
Yeah.
Yo, look at
yeah,
you all
yeah.
decked out and shit." You know?
And I got a question about that. Do you think that's a problem? Like, is that
No,
really a problem? Like,
no. Why is it a
if I
problem?
decide, yeah, why is it a problem? And
If
that's,
I wear a
I, f-
polo shirt, is there a problem?
yeah,
Exactly.
exactly. But that's what he's
Go
pointing out
figure.
in that, where he's talking about the acceptable Negro. It makes white people feel
But it's
comfortable.
true though, Paul. It's true. I
But and it
mean,
yeah,
you even amongst blacks, if you're light skinned, you know, you were treated different because
differently
you're privileged. You get all this and that, and I'm too dark to get it, and you know, you're not even
because
really black. Look at you, and you know, you get it from both sides.
because I hated light skinned niggas growing up. Sorry for using the word, but I hated them. I hated light skinned dudes growing up, right?
Because they
Because they
got
were
the
always
G's.
they always got the girls. They always got the
Is
girls. Girls always wanted these light skinned dudes, and I used to,
Especially if
pretty
your
well,
dad
boys
that
look
could
had
them
these
up.
be.
pearls jangling in the back and shit, you know?
I
Hmm.
mean, that could be like a culture thing too, because when I
It is.
watched Fresh Prince
It
when I was
is.
a kid, I didn't see Carlton as like an
I did.
acceptable Negro. I
I
watched
saw him
him and
like
I
a
was
West
like,
Island brother.
this is just his cousin. Like this is just his like he's just funny, he does his dance, and like Will Smith is more like from the streets, like but they were the same to me. Like they were the same culture. Like I
He's
just
different, Paul. He's
yeah,
totally different.
well
His
that's the thing.
choice
Like
of
from
music, his clothing, his attire, his demeanor, the way he eats. Like he wouldn't eat with his hands. He always uses cutlery because you know that's the etiquette for the
but was that
lifestyle
because
he's
he
living,
was
right?
yeah, was he like that's because they were rich, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Rich
So,
and
but does that like because he's not hood, that means he's not black?
But he's
Like that's
not
what I'm
no,
in
trying
the
to
community.
understand.
He's not.
no. Go ahead, Roberto. You
No,
finished
go
enough.
go, Anzo. Go ahead.
No, I'm saying no. It's not that he's not black, right? But what Colin Kaepernick was trying to say in that is when you watch these TV shows, right? They were acceptable to white people, right? At the time, right? You didn't see the gangbangers on TV shows. You didn't see the wires back then. You saw the Carltons, you saw the Urkels, you saw um even the Cosby Show, right? And what he's basically saying is that all of these shows were acceptable to
White
white
accepted.
people. That's why they were so popular. That's why people loved them so much. You know
See,
what I mean?
Sanford and Son was not white accepted. It
Right,
was more a
right,
Saturday show because it was black
right.
oriented. You
So
know,
you have
didn't get
shows
prime
like
time hours.
right. You have shows like Sanford and Son, The Jeffersons. What else
No, the
was there?
Jeffersons was a runoff of Archie Bunker. That's the only reason why they got prime time.
No, they did, but there still wasn't like one of those shows that was like, the acceptable Negro shows. You know what I mean? Because
The
he was
Cosby
on
Show,
there.
I think, was the only
Was
one.
the Cosbys
Yeah,
were they
100%,
acceptable Negroes?
100%.
If that's what he's talking about, yes, 100%, yes,
Yeah, because
yes.
I don't know, man. I feel like that is. Can I? I'll like be
Yeah,
kind
go
of
ahead.
honest.
Yeah,
Like my
yeah.
my perspective on this was like I thought he was just being racist towards black people, like with that comment. Because I was like, he's literally judging them not on. He's just like he's judging characters and saying they're just not black enough. They're white,
I
and
didn't see it for right and wrong,
it's
Paul. I
like
just saw it for facts. It's just the way we grew up. Like, you know, like Danny uses the N word in the South so commonly. It's because it's the way he grew up. It's the way we
mm,
grew up, you know?
Hmm.
Like, for instance, you'll hear me making reference to West Island brothers a lot. We didn't like them because they were different.
they're
And
like
usually
the
that's why
lesson in
people
that.
don't like each other because they're different. You don't
Yeah.
understand them. You can't comprehend them, so you learn to hate them.
Well, like
It's not right, but
the moral of that episode, if I remember correctly, was Will called them out for being basically for determining what blackness was, and like not letting Carlton into the club. Like, so he was calling out the opposite of what Kaepernick was trying to make a point out of,
No, I hear.
and
well, that show is trying to send a message, though. I don't really see it anything more than that because that time was a family oriented era. You know, you wanted to show strength in family, be it was Happy Days or you know the Cosby Show. It was all about
yeah, yeah,
family strength.
yeah,
Now it's
yeah.
a little different. Now everything's out there. You know, if you
Right.
don't look, the only thing I could say, you not because you're not black, you can't see it the way a black person sees it. But as I explained before, if you used to, if you see something that you're familiar with, it's easier for you to understand it than somebody who's never really experienced it. as much as they
Yeah, well, that's true.
study and
I agree with you because I come from a completely different culture to Canada and America as well. Like again, so
okay. Mhm.
so like when I watch it, I'm watching it from that perspective, and I can see like that I don't have full. That's why I decided to just watch it as if he was telling the truth about his childhood, like from the beginning.
It made sense to me, and that's why it
Yeah,
touched
so
me,
yeah, it
right?
made sense to me, like the stuff that he went through and the different stuff. There were other things that I wasn't sure about, like, and that's why I sort of asked for clarification, like on the baseball field, the umpire and they nodded to each other, and it was like respect the game, and it was like, was that dude being racist or was just an overzealous umpire
But
being
you
an
got to keep in
asshole?
mind
Like,
too, we experience racism here, right, in
yeah, yeah,
Canada.
yeah, yeah,
We are nowhere near the
Right.
level of the
Of the
US,
states.
especially in certain parts of the US.
Right.
So I don't think
mm,
it's exaggerated at all. And that's why I was hoping Danny had saw the show and he could give us more understanding. I'm not American, so I mean, I witnessed it, I saw it, but I'm like third person seeing it. I didn't experience it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
The
yeah.
racism I
The,
experienced, like we could tell the cops to fuck off over here. I don't think that can
yeah.
happen in the US.
No,
For
you
real.
get shot.
You
I
know,
even know
I don't
that.
know
I
about
even know
shot,
that,
but I know the
man.
outcome is
Like
you're not going home.
Right.
like I even know that, man. I've made jokes about it, like where um I'm gonna like travel to the states this coming year, hopefully, when all this stuff is done with the coof. And I've made jokes about like I ain't, if a cop tells me to do something, I'm just dropping to the floor with my hands spread, my legs spread. Just don't kill me, please. Like because
Facts.
my and this is the other thing too. I was talking with MSK last night about this. My experience of America and like black people, particularly, has all been from Hollywood films until I got online and started
Right.
talking to you people. Right? Obviously, like
Yeah.
so, like all of it has been like hood and
Mm-hmm.
gangsters and
Mm-hmm.
gangbangers. It's all
Mm-hmm.
been portrayed as that. That's what the experience is here when we watch outside of
Yes.
like of America. So when you get inside of them, like when you actually start talking to people from varying different like even black people from different like backgrounds, right, and different places they've grown up. Like you said, Enzo, like down in the south, they say the N word. Here up north, you're more against it than they are down south, right? So like,
Mm-hmm.
there's all these different things to consider. But I actually agree somewhat with Pickle's point. There is that he made really good. If he had made
It's
it,
a
like
great
I'll put this argument to you. I'll put this argument to you.
Mm-hmm.
If he had made this show and he had just shown his life, right,
Mm-hmm.
leading up to like him starting the NFL and getting in, right, and he had left all the hyperbolic. This is what it's like to be in the. It's slavery to be in the. If he had left all that outside, right, I would have been fully on board with this, and I would have got more out of it. What took me out of this whole show was when he went hyperbolic and he went to the extreme to make an example, and it was like, dude, I get it, man. I understand you went through racism, like, and you faced it every day, right? And that's why you kneeled on the field. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
understand it. I get it, but like
Bring back that last
to
comment from
like
Pickle, please.
all the extreme things that he did, I do agree. It
Which one?
stokes a it,
Before? Sorry. Go ahead, Paul.
it stokes a fire that like I don't think brings folks together. It rather divides them further because at the end, even at the end, he's like, people need to realize their black power, and that he borderline almost made a black superiority, in my opinion anyway, made a black superiority like argument at the end of the show, and I was like, dude, man, come on, like, can't you could have said all this right, and you could have said at the end, and I kneeled in the field that day because I wanted to bring like light to an injustice, and I wanted us to be together. And he could even end it with MLK, man. Like, why couldn't he do, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, he did a lot of extremes, but there wasn't any let's come together at the end. The whole show, he never said it once. He was talking about racial divide the entire time. And to me, that doesn't really help the situation. He could have used this as a way to
I
teach.
don't
I
think he
always
was
say
trying to
this.
help anything, Paul.
Well, I feel like, well, yeah, he's telling
He's
his
just telling
story,
his
but he's
story, and people
also,
can't accept his story for
yeah,
what it
but
is.
being
People want to
hyperbolic in the middle of it.
scrutinize it. Maybe that's what he went through. Who are we to judge it? I'm
No,
telling
I'm
you,
saying that's what he
everybody
did. I'm
is
saying he went
needle
through that.
picking on this thing And
Oh
I
well,
think
there's
it's
three major
ridiculous.
points like
I still love football.
that he went
I
too
didn't
far.
take this as it was a racism thing. I don't see white people different because of this movie. I don't think that's what he tried to do. I do see a similarity between the Columbine and slavery, but it goes to everybody, not just blacks, whites, anybody who's trying out from college to the NFL. What they are going through is somewhat like a slavery. When they're checking your wingspan, how high you could jump, how fast you could run, those were the same credentials for slavery. Whether whether people like it or not, there is similarities.
Okay,
Now,
but
because
white people
Colin
go through that
Kaepernick
too.
using it,
Hold
So
on
do
one
Colin
second.
Latinos.
Kaepernick is using it, that's the problem.
Hold
He's
on one
too
second.
extreme.
Danny sent $2 super chat. I said, "Watch it. That shit ain't funny." And then he sent another $2 super chat. And he said, "Did you say you people?
I
What the
corrected
fuck?"
myself.
I think he
But,
meant me.
Yeah,
I think he was saying like you. I was saying you people as in like between the north and the south of America and all the rest
yeah,
of
he
it.
didn't
Like,
mean black people, right?
Oh, I didn't
But
take it like that. I didn't
but
take
yeah,
it offensive, Paul,
so
if that's anything.
yeah, I
let's
don't know.
let's go with because we'll go with the NFL racism part, right? And like Roberto said, and like I said earlier, I don't think he was necessarily comparing it to the whole NFL. I think he was just comparing it to the process. And this is what
Columbine.
people Right, sorry. And this is what people are misunderstanding, right? They're saying he's completely comparing it to NFL is racist, blah, blah. No, but if you look at the similarities to the way they pick the people to come into the NFL, it's kind of like slavery.
Okay,
It's kind of the same
all
kind
right.
of thing.
So my pushback on that is this: if he had done that, right? If that was his point, was that it's like slavery, right? What he should have done is he shouldn't have had just only black players on the field at the start of that. He shouldn't have been going, they want beasts, and then have a black man run at the screen like he's going to kill you, like, and have all of the coaches be white, because you know what, the NFL, that
I think it's a tit
hold
for
on.
tat.
everyone that gets their arms stretched out, Roberto, they're white, Latino, they're black.
Right.
There's multiple races in the NFL. Like, there's multiple races in the NFL. He just showed black people, and then he made them march along, and then they suddenly were
I want to
shadow
know.
slave.
And I'll just say this.
To me, is bullshit.
You're chipping out a little bit, Paul.
Bullshit argument. And like, if he wanted to make the argument that the other in the NFL chattel slavery,
you're chipping out a little bit, Paul.
Am I good?
So a little bit. You're chipping out, so you sound a little robot-y.
Okay.
It's hard to hear what you were saying at the end of that.
Oh, no worries.
I do understand what you're saying. Yeah, look, I can see you guys' point, but at the same time, as me, as a black man, I'm looking at it and I'm like, yeah, that's kind of right, because you only get a certain amount of people in the NFL, and you said they only show black people, but it's 85% of the NFL is black, right? So that's why he showed mostly black people. Regardless, there are white people.
I think there was more to it than that. He was trying to make a point. That's why he made it to go to chattel slavery immediately after they marched off the field. Like, he was trying to make a point, a very pointed point, that NFL is like slave owners, and it's just something that, like, factually, it just doesn't. It's not. It's not true.
War, isn't it eye for an eye, Paul?
But do they, Roberto? Do they? Does he choose? I mean, we saw the 6 episodes. He wanted to be a quarterback his whole youth, right? That's what he wanted. That was his dream.
Let me go where I'm going with this, Paul. You'll see what I'm saying. When you go into a battle, it's an eye for an eye, right?
Well, yeah. Well,
if
usually
you're going to get a little dirty, I'm going to get a little dirty too, because if I don't, you're going to win. That's what I mean. When Kaepernick initially took a knee, he took a knee for injustice.
Oh yeah, I'm not arguing against that.
What did Trump and the media do? They turned
they destroyed him.
Flag. They turned it into the flag. They got extreme. They got all of the terminologies we're using in reference to his documentary was all done to him. But we are not arguing those facts. These things are not being brought to the forefront, how they turned something and twisted it and manipulated it to ruin this guy's career. Now this guy goes a little extreme to defend himself, and we're going to scrutinize that. This is why this struggle is 400 years long.
I don't know. Like, I feel like that's a. I mean, you can say I would agree with you. I would agree with you from the majority of conservatives are doing that currently. I personally, the knee thing to me is like he did that. He did a peaceful protest. Like
Yeah, but look
that's
how
all
they
that
twisted
was.
that. Look how they
Yeah,
twisted it, Paul.
that's yeah, and I fully agree with you. It was disgusting. Like
But
then
he got
yeah,
ruined. No one
yeah,
defended him.
that's true.
No
He got
one.
ruined.
He got
I agree
ruined.
with
So
you.
now
But
he's
also,
trying to ruin other people's thoughts in his defense, and he's getting ruined again. This is
well,
what I'm saying.
also he did get offered from multiple teams to go try
We
out
don't
for
know that.
them.
That's all hearsay. We don't know that for facts. That's all hearsay. I said this
Oof.
guy didn't
I
even
wish
make
Pickle was
effort to
on
get
here now
into
because
the
he knows a
NFL.
fair bit about that particular part.
I wish Pickle would come on
yeah.
too. He's friendly.
Yeah, he knows more about the NFL situation than I do. But what I will say is that look, I get your point about going extreme to go the other way, but again, eye for an eye it just leaves the whole world blind.
But
That's
that's
an old
war.
saying.
That's war. That's
Is it
battle.
war? But is it war though?
That's how we got to this point in life, Paul. We didn't all eat sunflower seeds and cross our legs for millenniums. This cancel culture just started with everybody so sensitive. Back in the day, it was an eye for an eye. It doesn't matter if it helped. It was the way it was. We're
all
still
right,
here, aren't we?
Are we still? So my question to you then is, what does it help? Like, who does it help?
It's not a matter of who it helps. My question is, why does everything have to be so scrutinized? When has it become that everybody is such an expert in life that they can pass judgment on everybody else's life experience? If this is what the guy went
through, I don't think it's a life experience thing because they scrutinized his.
It's a documentary.
Well, it is, but I think what you meant, Roberto,
are not scrutinized to this extent. That's
if I may add, the only thing that really was scrutinized hardcore were his 2 points about the acceptable Negro and the first part where he related NFL to slavery.
What seems to be bothering the other race.
They're the white people who are they're the only two that bothered.
But it's white people who are offended by this who are.
I'm sure there are people offended by it.
A race war. It's not meant to cause a race war. This guy is speaking out on how we have been struggling for so fucking long to get our point out, and we still are. The struggle is always there. That's why it's exhausting to try and defend what we're going through when it's so evident and we still have to defend it.
Okay,
that's what I'm trying to say. You know, like if this is what the guy went through, this is what he went through. It's not to tarnish the NFL. This is just his opinion of how he saw the Columbine. And if you have any common sense, you can say, yes, there is resemblance, but I never took it for slavery. He's a little extreme.
Yeah.
But this is, I don't think this is a race war. This is turning out to be like Colin Kaepernick's trying to turn all blacks against whites. He's trying to make us look like we're bad people. No, I don't think that's it. I really don't think that's it.
I don't know who's saying that. That's certainly. I don't know who's saying that. That's certainly
what Pickle's writing, and it's just about black and white.
Oh well, like I don't know. Like I'm not saying anything like that. My only point was that I think extremes don't help people come together. I feel like at some point, one side. You're talking about this war that's happening, or it's been an eye for an eye forever, right? At some point, one side of this, whatever you want to call it, this eye for an eye, one side has to stop working in extremes and like basically put the hand out and be like, and I to be honest, my opinion in this is it needs to be the white person, but like, and that's what I'm trying to do here by talking to you about it is like my opinion from a totally separate culture. I accepted everything he said about his childhood to be true. Okay. That's the first statement. Every time he went hyperbolic and went extreme, it made it hard for me to get on board with him because I didn't see the resemblance that he was trying to put forward. And it made it harder to get behind his storyline and made it harder for me to believe what he was saying about his childhood because it like made me feel more so that he was he saw the white boogeyman coming for him at every corner instead of like what actually happened in his life. Like he put that part where he did the microaggressions, he just put that randomly in the middle. It didn't fit with the storyline like that he was speaking at the time. It just came randomly in the center of an episode. And I was like, dude, you could have made this point sometime later on, but this doesn't fit here. Like, there's again, I'll say again, he could have made his point by doing this whole thing, this documentary of his life, without any of the hyperbolic statements, the extreme statements, which he knew. Don't anybody tell me that he didn't know that that wasn't going to get publicity. That whole referring the NFL to slavery, that was planned. Let's not pretend here. He knew that was going to get hype. He knew that people were going to disagree because it's an extreme thing. He knew the conservatives and the whatever you want to call them would go crazy over it. He knew all that would happen and it would advertise his Netflix special, like, or whatever you want to call it, Netflix series to the max. So, like, he put those things in there for that reason, right? He may feel that way, but in reality, like, other cultures who are looking in don't see it that way. And that, again, I'm willing to admit that could be my whiteness or not living in America or Canada around African Americans or around black folk. Like it could be the bias that I have. I'm willing to admit that I don't see that every day. Okay. But for me to get on board with it, you need to give me a pillow, like I say this at the time, you need to give me a soft pillow to land on to come across to your argument. You can't just make an extreme statement and be like, even the white people do, we're in a race war. I'm like, you're a fool. Like to anybody that says that, like, it's dumb. It's like you're not putting peace together. You're not trying to live together in harmony. You're just making an extreme statement because you're like angry at what this dude said. So that's pretty much my statement on that.
Hold on before you respond, Danny. What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing fine.
Danny was like, "You motherfuckers, eh?" What do you think, Danny? What do you think on the subject? Because you were listening.
Respond to what Paul wants to say, and
sure, go ahead.
This is just my opinion. People sometimes like to be logical about racism. You can't be logical about racism if you're not in the equation. Being black in America is extreme, and sometimes people, when you tell them that, they don't believe it. So you have to be extreme and paint that picture. But people try to use logic and being civil and stuff. Sometimes being logical and being civil ain't got nothing to do with it. The real facts of the matter is extreme. And when we tell you, and some people take the attitude that you're saying now, then that pisses us off. Because how we get over here wasn't logical. It was extreme. People came to our country, put us in chains, brought us back over here, and expect for us to jump in line. So it's extreme. I'm not saying your people, anybody else people, but ancestors did that. That's a fact. Now, when Colin Kaepernick or anybody of color or anybody got a legitimate argument or whatever, and they take what you call so-called extreme measures, then people want to have a closed ear or blah, that. It's believable. Until I could go to Australia. I don't know what hardships y'all go through. So how could I go there and say, well, Paul, what you sound like, that sounds pretty extreme, but I don't know because I don't live there. So I can't say what you're going through, how you living is extreme unless I actually go there or you actually tell me the story and I have factual evidence to back up what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. Colin Kaepernick had factual evidence that at one point in time, black men and blacks were being killed at an extremely high rate here in good old US of A by white officers. That is facts. Ain't no make-believe about that. The shit's extreme. It's disturbing. So if somebody tell you something extreme and disturbing and they don't have the facts to back it up, I agree with you 1,000%. But in this case, he had the facts to back up what he was saying. And whether you want to admit it now, I'm just going to be my show Saturday. I love Aaron Rodgers, but like he's going to be able to play Sunday against the Seattle Seahawks.
And
now he did something that could potentially put someone's life or many people's lives in danger, but he's still being allowed to play. Is that a form of white privilege? I'll let whoever want to answer that. But Colin Kaepernick did nothing but ruffle the feathers of a few rich white billionaires, and now it killed his career. That's extreme. To me, that's pretty fucking extreme. But nobody seems to say nothing about that. They try to always say, well, Colin Kaepernick, he didn't do this, he did that. Okay. Maybe he didn't do this or that, but it's extreme. But is it extreme?
Bashing his credibility on the field. They were saying he's a shit quarterback.
Yeah, anyways. That's not true. That's not true.
Paul, are you kidding me?
No, they
Yeah,
were.
no. I'm saying that no.
Oh,
What I'm
that the
saying is
statement's
careful.
not
Oh,
true.
I'm
Yeah, yeah.
saying that the statement's not true.
Okay.
Right, right.
Because I
Yeah.
know for a
I'm just
fact
like no. This is okay. This is the same thing they did with Floyd. It was like, oh, he was a criminal in the past, and I was like, and they
Mhm.
did all that, and they tried to discredit, and it's like, yeah, but he also didn't deserve to be publicly lynched by a police officer in the middle of the street. Like, you don't get to do that. Like, and then discredit him by like, oh, this happened in the past, so that's why he deserves to be murdered. Like, it doesn't work that way. And like, I agree with you. Like, coming to like, I wasn't talking about like the general extremes of like police brutality or stuff that he was talking about. I gave like specific examples in his series where I was like, oh, that's too far. But again, I admitted that exactly what you said, because I haven't lived the American experience. I haven't lived the black experience. I don't like, I see it from an outside perspective. What I'm saying is, if he wants people, like, because it's Netflix, it's worldwide, right? It's not just America. If he wants people to get on board, like with the perspective of what he's trying to get across, it's helpful to be somewhat less hyperbolic with the examples he was giving. I had no problem with his life story, and like him telling the examples that actually happened to him in his life story were messed up. I've given a couple of examples since I've been on here about the how I was offended. Like when that woman came up to and tapped him on the shoulder and was like, "Excuse me, are you meant to be here?" And I'm like, she's going to say she's a Christian any minute, and then she says, "Oh, God bless you for adopting this poor black kid. We have like a foundation in our church." And I was like, I just want this woman to be slapped in the face. Like, it's like I was offended every time a white person did something stupid, like out of racism. It was stupid, dumbass, stupidity. Like. To treat people less than, right? So I could get on board with all of the stuff he was doing in what happened to him in his life. The issues I had was when he broke free of that in the series and he started doing other things. He started saying other things, and I only and some of the stuff he did was good when he did that. I agree with a lot of the stuff he said about the black artists and also what you said earlier, Roberto, about the whole NBA thing, about how he started to braid his hair, and because he was basically doing, they brought in a dress uniform for the NBA to make him not black, and I was like, yeah, that's messed up, man. That's just racism, pure. Like, and I appreciate that he brought light to a lot of those things. It was when it was the first part, as I said. They had slavery, it was the slavery stuff,
Negro stuff.
That stuff was, they're the two things that I was like, oh man, like that stuff is like, it just, I didn't see it that way.
Facts. The second part is facts. The explanation of the Columbine was harsh, but again, when you're stifling for air, you don't go, you go, and that's what he's doing.
Okay, but what was the point of saying the NFL is slave? Okay, well, my question is this: what's the point that he's trying to make by saying the NFL are like slave owners?
Well, let me ask you this:
the NFL, it's the Columbine.
If he
Why
used
do we keep making reference to the NFL? He's saying that when they make the transition from college to the pros, they are treated like slaves, and they are. If you look at it, the way slaves were picked, and the way these guys are drafted and put through the regiments, there's similarities. Did I ever make that assessment? No, but I never played pro football.
So it's, I don't know. Every person, every color is treated like a slave.
That's what I said. It's every color. It's everybody.
Right. So he didn't do that though. He didn't do that. You notice he didn't do that. He just had black folk. 80%
of them are black.
But still, man, it's still 80%. That means 20% aren't. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like he made a point. He made a point on a false premise, and that's my problem. He had black only slaves going in.
In that part there, he's totally wrong.
Well, dude, he could have made that statement. Well, yeah, he is. He's completely wrong.
All right,
because he's building off a false premise, Roberto. He's saying only black people are drafted into the NFL. And then they are treated like slaves. Because that's what he. That's the visual. Enzo. That's the visual he gave us. That's the visual he gave us.
Were black.
Right.
But he gave
Okay,
us
hold
that
on.
visual, and that's not
Hold
true
on,
either.
Pop.
There were Irish slaves. There's been Greek slaves. Like there's been a lot of white slaves throughout history as
In the
well.
cotton fields?
Not
Hold on.
chattel slaves, but slaves. Yes.
Hold on, Danny. Go ahead. Say what you're gonna say real quick. Then I want to hear Pickle.
I'm trying to figure out why Paul want him to be so hospitable and civil, and the NFL didn't wasn't hospitable and civil to him.
That's what I said.
What do you mean hospital and civil? No, I'm not talking about hospital and civil. What I'm saying is, if he wants, like, I don't agree with making hyperbolic points or points based on false premises to get a point across. There was other ways he could have said that without being as extreme. And the reason he did it, and I say it again, the reason he did that is because he knew that it would be clipped. He knew that the conservatives and all the people would rile up about it. He knew that it would bring attention to his series. This is a truth. Like this is a fact. This is like a media truth. He knew that it would do that, and it's sensationalism for the sake of sensationalism. Because otherwise, I could say, okay, cool. It's like slavery. Like being drafted in the NFL is like slavery, and let's refer it to that. But then, if I then make a documentary about football and I say, and I do the same thing, but then I put the white people on the field and then I put them in chains as if they're being measured and stuff, you're going to say that's ridiculously extreme. And it's not true because they were never chattel slaves. But it's like, but he's essentially saying that all NFL players that get drafted, or is he saying there's different standard for black players that get drafted, Enzo? Is he saying that only black people get drafted like that?
He's saying all NFL players, but like I mentioned before, you got to understand thing too. These NFL owners, and it's not like basketball or any other sport, they practically own their players. So you cannot say this, you cannot do that. If you do anything, you get kicked out of the league and you were gone. Right? That's another part to where that acceptable Negro thing comes in. Because if you're like a TO, right? TO has been getting blacklisted. He didn't reach the Hall of Fame until like his 5th or 6th try, and the reason why is because he was labeled as that bad guy. You know what I mean? Right.
Oh, I just remembered the other thing I was going to say. Also, he volunteered. That was his dream, to play the sport. It's not slavery when you actually volunteer and you want to get paid to do something. It's like saying, I'm a slave because I go to work every day. My boss treats me like a slave. Like, it's like, no, I chose to go into that profession. I chose to earn that money. I chose to get physically tested on the field. I chose to get drug tested. I chose to have my like media blockouts, whatever the hell they sign. I chose all those things so that I could be an NFL quarterback. He wanted to be a quarterback. That was his dream. He chose to go into the system, and then to turn around and say, oh, it's like slavery, to me is just ungrateful, to be honest, Enzo. Like, and I forget what happened to him, right? When he first went into the NFL and he was tested and all these things, right? He signed up for that. Okay, what happened to him after that was atrocious, and that's another conversation altogether. But he chose to go into that profession. He chose to be tested, and all those 85% black players, they all choose to do the same thing. They're not chattel slaves. He earned $44 million in his career. No slave has ever earned that. Like it's a ridiculous statement.
He was using as a comparison, some of the similarities.
Right,
maybe it's not a good comparison, but there are some similarities to it. Just like there's some similarities to law enforcement and security guards. Okay,
right, and the thing is, you guys are taking it to the extreme, right? You guys are taking it. No, do you get money? You get paid, and this and that. I get all of that, but that's not what he's saying. He is just saying that the way they pick the players is like slavery. Yes, he did choose to go into the NFL. The reason why he chose to go into the NFL is because of all the fucking racism he's seen when he had to do the baseball stuff, and the NFL was in his heart, right? But at the end of the day, you are still owned by these owners and stuff like that, right? So I want to hear what Pickle has to say, because he came in here and he's been talking. So Pickle, what's your thoughts, man?
I mean, I'm here. You got me here, Nzo. God damn it.
Yes,
I didn't want to come on. I can't stay long. But okay. Paul's basically said everything that I want to say. I don't know what to address. I mean, bring something up and I can address it.
So right now we're talking about, because Roberto hasn't heard the conversation that we had, right? So he's talking about the slavery and compared to the NFL. That's what we're talking about now. Then we'll get into the acceptable Negro part, shit, because I think those are the two
Damn.
issues.
Oh my god!
Damn.
Oh my god!
The acceptable Negro
Oh
My bad.
god!
The acceptable Negro part, because I think that's the two issues that you guys have, right?
I have a few issues.
Okay, so let's
Yeah,
get to
Pickle
the.
has way more issues than I do. I watched the full thing, so I only had 3 of the problems in the whole thing. But go Pickle.
I mean,
Yeah.
everything Paul said, I'm for. I get what you guys are saying about it. Kind of replicates the process of picking the biggest and the strongest black guy to, do whatever work you want.
Mhm.
But Paul is right. He deliberately left out. If he wanted to represent the NFL like it is, he would have had 8 black people and 2 white people, or 1 Mexican, but he didn't. He deliberately had white versus black, white controlling black. Then he had the white slave auctioneer shake hands with the athletic evaluator as if they were on the same team. Just straight lying to young kids. Young, not you guys and not me, young, impressionable black people in this country will watch that and think he's telling the truth.
I chipped
And
out a
he is
little bit.
grooming them to not like me for my color and to be afraid of me because even the things that you love, baseball, football, sports, these dumb little things that you're supposed to just chill and watch on a Sunday, even those things you can't escape this bad slavery. It's unequivocally false. It's an extreme, and if he's going to go extreme, I'm going extreme. Like Paul said, compensated very well. Slaves were not compensated at all. They were raped, beaten, murdered. Did he ever get lashed on his back to where his skin fell off? I don't think so. And guess what? I want you to demonstrate 1 or 2 ways. Give me 1 or 2 things how it's even close. The NFL draft to slavery.
Well, first off, like you said, you're prodded, you're pro. They want to find out who the best of the best is, right? That's what he's saying. And when they did pick slaves, you can watch the documentaries and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, this one is strong. He can lift this. This can do that. This can do that. That's how slaves were picked back in the day. 2, when you said he shook the hands of one of the trainers, right? The reason why he did that is because there is not one black owner in the NFL, not one. Right. And there was a time where they didn't even want black quarterbacks, right? Black coaches. There's only like 2 in the NFL. And this is what I'm saying. So what he's trying to portray is that there is still that injustice in the NFL. You cannot tell me that there isn't a black person that has enough money to buy an NFL team, but they won't let a black person buy an NFL team.
Hey, Enzo, but he didn't say that in the document in that series once. He could have said all that at the start and bring those stats to thing. Enzo, yeah, exactly. You like what you just said. If he had said all that, like he said the whole black creative stuff later on in the series, right? If he had said right from the start, there is only 2 black coaches in the NFL. If he had laid out all these stats and he didn't do the whole slavery analogy at all, I would have been on board from the beginning, man. I would have been like, yep, okay, I know where this guy's sitting right now. No, he wanted to make a hyperbolic, extreme statement to offend people. That was what literally, right. That's what I know it was about. It was to get people to be offended at this so that they would come watch the series, so it would drum up media for his series. That was what it set Twitter aflame. Like everyone was like, look at this guy comparing the NFL to slavery. All the conservatives went nuts. Ben Shapiro did a whole thing on just that video. He didn't watch the whole series. He just watched that video and did a whole thing on it. Like he literally did it for media. And so he could have said all this stuff at the stats at the start, and I would have been like, okay, cool. Now I know where you sit, man, and I agree with you. There needs to be more representation. If there's 85% black players, why aren't there owners and why aren't there coaches? This is an important conversation. But he didn't say that once in the entire series.
Do you watch tennis?
Tennis?
Yes.
Yeah, sometimes I watch the Grand Slam or I watch the Australian Open.
You got to hit back and forth. You're keeping the ball on your side of the net extremely long. Hit it back and forth. Let us go back and forth. Now, I'm going to hit the ball. Let's go back to the point where I just told you earlier. You put logic with racism. You can't do that. You just said here about 20 minutes ago that until you came on YouTube, you didn't know much about black people. So how you gonna come up here and be an expert on something that Colin Kaepernick saying when you just met us this year?
Well, I'm not saying I'm an expert on Colin Kaepernick. What he's saying, what I'm saying is, he could have made his point a lot better if he had
How do you
just
know
at
that?
least said what Enzo said.
That would be like me saying I go to Australia and I start talking all this kind of stuff that's going on in Australia. I never been over there, and I'm talking like I've been over there, and I'm knowing
Well, we're
what's
talking
going
about the
on.
sport of NFL. There's a lot of Australians that watch NFL.
Okay, I know that,
Like,
but I'm saying, but there are not a lot of black Australian football players, according to what you said, that you just
there's
only
heaps
met.
of them. We got Islanders, we got Pacific Islands, we got Tongans, we got Maoris, we got heaps. Dude,
Okay.
majority of one of our teams is completely like colored.
you
So
had interaction with these people because you just said earlier. That
yeah,
the
we
people
interact
on
with them. We
YouTube-
actually have an Aboriginal we do like more than the
Yeah, so
NFL.
what
We
you
have an
saying-
Aboriginal
No,
week.
I think Danny meant you personally.
Oh, me
said 20
personally.
You said 20
Yeah.
minutes ago until YouTube, you never really interacted.
Oh,
with
I'm
black
talking about, you're talking about like as in Black Americans.
Yeah, an actual black person that looks like me. Yes.
Yeah,
that's what
Black
I'm talking
Americans. Yeah, I agree with you, but I'm not talking about the experience of a black person. I'm talking about NFL experience.
about. No,
So
we
we're
talking about
inside of the
Colin
sport.
Kaepernick experience. So none of us
Yeah,
can
yeah.
sit
And
here,
so
but none of us can sit
if
here and say we know what he went through because we really don't.
yeah, but he's saying that what he went through was like slavery, and that can be criticized.
Okay,
But maybe
I'm
it
saying
was. That's what we're trying to
some of
say,
the
Paul. Maybe
comparisons.
his
It wasn't.
experience
Okay,
was.
if his
100%
was,
wasn't.
then every single player's was. So every white person
because
that's in the
not every
NFL went through
single
it as well.
player. But you have to understand, this guy was raised interracial. Everyone is excluding that. That makes a big fucking difference, man. If this kid was all pure black and he was making these same expressions, I'd say, yo, didn't you notice already? This guy was not prepared, like I stated earlier, like 99% of black parents tell their kids if they're playing sports, you got to be 10 times better. Let me ask any brothers in the panel, any brothers that can answer me that played sports at a high level. If your parents never told you this once in your career, that you have to be 10 times better.
It's not even with sports. It's anything.
No, but I'm just saying, this is why
I'm
this
saying it's
Kaepernick
anything
thing
we
touched
do.
me so much because it's sports oriented. I went through it. I don't have to be like a person saying, is it possible? Yes, very much so. And it was in Canada. So I can imagine in the States, it's the X Games version of what I went through. So I don't question anything this guy went through.
And didn't you say that playing hockey here was like slavery for you?
Yes. Not slavery. Not slavery, but if I look at the training camps, how they treated us, it never crossed my mind that this is slavery. Because that's not the mentality or the mindset I was in. I cannot speak for Colin Kaepernick. I was not in his situation. You know what I'm saying, dog?
And because
I
you
was
weren't in
not
chains.
raised by, sorry?
You weren't in chains and you didn't have your clothes stripped, so you knew it wasn't slavery. None of these people are stolen from their houses, stripped from their clothes, beaten, raped, and put in chains. That's the point.
I was talking about him being raised by...
No, but
that's why you know that it wasn't slavery. You didn't
but
question it.
what you're saying is three different aspects of slavery. There's more than three. He's talking about the process of how white coaches or owners or whatever, they sit in their skybox and, man, boy, let's get T.O. because T.O. can run 3 seconds. He can catch 10 balls. He can do all this kind of stuff. And that's how he just using one aspect of the slavery. You're not saying every aspect of slavery applies to this. He's just using one or two aspects that are like-minded. And it may be offensive.
Then but with respect, then he made a visual representation of it being chattel slavery, though. He didn't say one or two aspects. He literally had them walk up onto a podium in chains as if they were full slaves, man. Like, we can't have it both ways. It wasn't a subtle point he was making. He was making a hyperbolic extreme point.
Hold on. Go ahead, Danny.
I said maybe that is a bad depiction of it, but still, sometimes you have to do stuff extreme to hammer stuff home, because if he would have done it calmly, would we be on here talking about this now? And let me ask you another question.
Very good point.
If it was reversed, if black officers like myself start killing white females at an alarming rate, or white people at an alarming rate, and Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady came on here and did the same exact thing Colin Kaepernick do you think we'd be talking about this now?
Hell yeah.
Oh no, I don't think so. I think we'd be talking about black officers killing white folk at an extreme way. I don't know if we'd be talking about Brady taking
What
a
I'm
knee
saying-
on the thing
Right.
because the national anthem's no longer televised over there, as far as I know. So
if it was happening back then, we'd be talking about this now. No.
So Pickle said, yeah. So Pickle, you think that if Tom Brady was the one taking the knee, the same thing would have happened to him?
No, because he's considered the greatest of all time.
Exactly. But you think that's the only reason?
Yes, I do.
Do you think?
Okay.
If Lamar Jackson does the same thing, he's not getting excommunicated.
Okay.
Because he's the MVP.
Now, because Colin Kaepernick was the first one that went through the fire.
So you think if it was Lamar Jackson instead of Colin Kaepernick, that he'd still be in the league?
If he came off his MVP season, yes. Kaepernick was on a downward spiral. He wasn't even starting. They didn't need him that much. He was expendable.
Kaepernick, and this is why I say I always kill this argument right away. Kaepernick, even today, is better than half of the backups in the NFL.
Dude, Kaepernick could start right now for the Panthers. I agree.
He could start, exactly.
Somebody.
And even 2 years ago, do you guys remember when the Steelers Ben went down and we had no fucking quarterback? I was like, yo, give Kaepernick a call. They wouldn't even call this guy.
Dude,
right?
Kaepernick rushed for 200 yards on the Packers in the playoffs. Like, he was an unbelievable talent.
Right. So he should and could have been on a team. That's what I'm saying,
But
right?
can't you understand? They didn't want that in the locker room. It wasn't going to be about the game. Every single time that anybody interviewed them, it would be about this movement he was doing. And his talent didn't match
that's a true point. That's a true point.
Yes, but there are teams out there because they have fucking what's his name, Watson, right now, who has 20 fucking cases of sexual assault against him, and they still have him on a fucking team. They are talking about this guy being traded
because that's how good
to different teams.
You have the president screaming, "Fire him!" I don't think any fucking team would have taken him.
100%.
There you go. End of conversation.
100%.
Yeah, well, there was. Let's be honest. There was too much controversy around him.
Momentum. They're shot down, humiliated, kicked to the curb. That's just the way it is.
Danny just
there was
made a
like
point.
there's.
Aaron
I see
Rodgers,
both sides. Like I see both sides to that, Roberto. Like
you need to experience.
No, you go ahead, Paul.
Get the true experience.
I just don't want to forget what I was going to say because Danny even made a point. Aaron Rodgers lied and put people's lives in jeopardy. He said he got the COVID shot and he didn't get the shot. He played, and if I'm not mistaken, because I remember I was watching my fucking fantasy team and I seen COVID. And if I'm not mistaken, they played Aaron Rodgers the week before. So he put a lot of people's lives in jeopardy, and he is playing on Sunday.
Whose lives did he put in jeopardy?
$14,000 fine.
Whoever he played against. He had COVID.
But they either wear masks or they're vaccinated.
No, he wasn't wearing a mask. He was standing right in front of what's his name? Mighty Mouse?
There's two protocols.
They were like this.
There's two protocols in the NFL. If you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask when you're doing interviews. You don't have to be in groups. You can be in any large number of groups. If you're not vaccinated, you must wear a mask throughout the building. You can only gather no more than 3 people while in the building. And there's certain restrictions and stuff you got to do while you're in the huddle. He led people to believe way before 2 or 3 weeks ago when they asked him directly that he was
immunized.
He said
immunized.
Yes,
that's what he claimed.
Yes.
He's using some kind of
life in jeopardy.
What you call he didn't put anybody's lives in jeopardy, though.
What do you mean?
There are people on the field. 2 people, a lineman and an offensive lineman, can be against each other that aren't vaccinated. But for some reason, the NFL lets that slide when it's on the field. So what does it matter if he's unvaccinated versus a defensive lineman who's unvaccinated?
No, because
protocol. Those linemen aren't breaking protocol.
On the field, you might be correct, but inside the building doing interviews, you must have a mask. You must practice social distancing. So he, in fact, had whoever's in the building that may not have been vaccinated, family members, media, we don't know who else. He violated the NFL protocols.
But they need to have a mask or be vaccinated, which means they should be protected. So it doesn't matter if he's vaccinated. It just shows the holes in their whole vaccination process.
Okay,
he is the only one
I don't
that
like
broke
that he lied.
protocol.
No.
You have Wentz and Cousins who aren't vaccinated. They have not broken any of the COVID protocols. Aaron Rodgers straight up broke protocol. Regardless
I
of the
agree.
rules, he broke
Right.
the law. So
Right.
you have to pay, and he didn't pay. $14,000 is nothing to this man.
What do you guys think his
Zero.
punishment should be?
Should have been suspended 2-3 games at least.
They
Set an
said-
example.
they said
set an
his-
example.
They said his fucking fine was like $33 to a regular person. That's what they said his fine
Yeah,
was like,
yeah.
right? So no, and I understand what you're saying, Pickle, right? Like the protocols that they do have
They're
in place
stupid.
are
Very much
stupid,
so.
right? 100%.
But they have to follow
But
them.
he broke them.
No,
He
I agree. He
lied
lied.
to
I don't like
people,
that.
right?
So you're
right.
saying if Kaepernick did that, he would have been fined more or suspended?
No, I'm just saying
just
the fact that he did that
Yeah.
and he's able to play next week, but Kaepernick, who did nothing illegal and nothing wrong, is kicked out of the league for kneeling.
Let me ask
Yeah,
you
because
this.
Aaron Rodgers is the MVP.
Do you think
It's all about talent.
Okay. Do you think it was wrong that the
Oh,
owners
shit.
white ball?
He does have a point. Trump was president,
I
right?
do think it was wrong that
Okay.
they dude, I
Okay.
was fine with Kaepernick kneeling.
Okay, let me
I-
ask you another question.
It was wrong, yeah, that he should have had a job.
Okay, so why are we grilling Colin Kaepernick for something that he is talking about, whether you agree with it or not, but we letting the owner slide? I don't see nobody.
I don't
on
like
this-
Jerry. I fucking hate Jerry Jones.
Yeah, but you're
Fuck
not
that guy.
you're not on here arguing.
Pickle,
that.
we're
You're
buddies,
about the
baby.
owners.
No, I'm saying.
Well, that's because the owner didn't make a documentary saying that NFL draft
It
is
don't
like
matter.
slavery.
But it
Like-
don't
Kneeling doesn't
matter.
matter to me. I care about him saying that slavery is even akin at all, smells like the NFL draft.
So there's
at all.
different levels of wrongness. That's what you're telling me.
I'm confused. Like, I feel like this should be so offensive to you. Like, to like, wouldn't the slaves be rolling? Like, this is to
You know
say
what's
that
funny?
his experience. Hang on. To say that his
Mm.
experience is anything like a chattel slave is offensive.
To
Like-
me, the
No,
black
no, I
people.
hear what you're saying. You see, that's
It
what I'm
should
saying.
be. Dude, I'm saying it should be offensive to everyone
No, but
that
it's
despises
not, though.
slavery.
But it's not though, and the reason why is when I watched this documentary, and I swear to God, on my parents' grave, I said there are going to be people, and I was thinking about more Paul than Pickle, right? But I was thinking more about Paul, and I was like, there are going to be people who are going to hate this. I just said that. I said, and it's going to cause a divide. Black people are going to understand, and white people aren't. And this is exactly what is happening.
You know
Black
what I
people
saw?
understand
Hanzo?
it. Yeah, go ahead.
You know what I saw when I watched this documentary?
Uh-huh.
Those two women at the Chappelle show.
Right.
That's what I saw. And they're just gonna say, "Fuck up, Colin. Do
Right.
something fucked up,
Right.
and we're gonna rip you on Twitter, baby. We're
I'm not
watching
gonna
you.
lie.
We're
I
watching
knew-
you."
I knew right away this was gonna cause a divide. I knew it. So you guys are kind of right when you say yes, it's causing a divide. But the reason why I have you guys on here is because I want you to at least kind of understand. You know what I mean?
Like, I
yes,
get what you're
black
saying. That
people-
different
I get what you're saying. I understand the measurements and all that stuff. And he's saying that the NFL, it's like if we're gonna take the side of it, like they measured their arms and stuff like they did with the slaves, right? I understand that's what you're saying, right? And then there's majority white owners. I understand that side of it. I am just saying there was a far better way to make that point, and you did it earlier, Enzo, when you talked about the stats and the amount of black owners and the amount of black coaches. All those things he could have said, and he didn't say one of those things in this entire series.
Experience that. It's those are things we already know.
But he experienced slavery. Did he experience
Everybody
slavery?
knows those things, but you have to understand,
No.
Paul. He would be repetitive if that's the way he went, because we all know that shit already. This Kaepernick thing is still something that we haven't inhaled properly. So now him giving us his perspective gives me a better understanding of why he acted the way he did, because I don't know his upbringing. I knew nothing about the guy. Now I have a better understanding. And because, again, this guy was not raised the same way. And I saw someone make a comment about my comment about black kids being warned about, I didn't say 100%.
Mhm.
Every single black kid is warned that you have to do better. But I'm not the first or last that has said that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And I've said this many times. I've said, was he what he said a little extreme? I can agree. Yes, it is a little extreme. I completely
He
understand.
did question
But
a lot of the same
but
stuff.
I got the message that he was trying to put out there, right? And that's what I'm saying. That's why I said black people will understand it, right? Yes, 100%. Was it extreme? Facts, 100%. It was. And I'll admit that it was extreme.
There's things
But
to
I
question.
do,
Yes.
but I do see his point in what he was saying.
But I've seen a
points
ton
are
of black people
stronger
on
than
Twitter
the
and on
things to
YouTube.
question. That's what I think. His points were much stronger than the things to question. If that NFL thing discredits everything else that he did, then people would not have given credit to it to begin with. That's just a little part. That's not even 1/8 of the storyline. But yet it's like it's the main focus of the argument.
Because to me, that was one of the most insane things I've ever seen.
Yeah, but what about all the righteous and legitimate things he said? It should far outweigh that little part of the story, but yet it doesn't. Because people just want to talk about the negatives rather than the positives.
That's one of the most insane things a human has ever said.
Okay, but let's get over that, Pickle. What about the things
But that was in it was in the first it was in the first minute. It was the first minute of his series. Like it wasn't in the middle. It was the first minute.
There's 6
I know.
parts to this.
But there's a reason he put it first.
Right.
There's a reason he put it first.
Series that is the main emphasis. If we're not picking on this, I don't know what picking on something is.
It's hold on. There's another thing we got to get into too, so we'll get into that. But first thing I wanted to say is, and I completely forgot what the fucking point I wanted to make was. So, Pickle, you were gonna say something.
No, I was just thinking, like, was it a racist process in the 20s and 30s and 40s when the NFL was first invented, when it was 95% white people? Why is it just racist now? Because black people are better at football now. Like, why are we mad that black people are better at football so they're in the NFL more? This is the same process they had in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s when black people were like 30%. It's the same process. Why wasn't it racist back then? Why wasn't it like slavery back then when they were poking and prodding?
You got to understand, Pickle, that NFL has evolved. There is no fucking way that the process was the same back then than it is now, because they didn't even have half of the things that they do now to
they
test
measured them.
Now.
They made them jump as far as they could. They timed their 40, everything.
But
not
they're
everything, but it was
poking,
the same.
they're prodding, they're using all these equipment to see how fast you can run and this.
Can you
and
explain
that.
poking and prodding to me? Because he's making it sound like they're experimenting on these poor black men in a dungeon.
The only thing that
what is poking and prodding?
Pickle is that
taking their blood to see if they have diabetes is poking and prodding.
That's the thing. I think that's the problem. He only used black people. Had he put white people there and Asian people there and Latino people,
yeah, but then
I agree.
Yeah, well, that's Roberto. But then he couldn't do the chattel slavery scene after that.
But
you
what
see?
I'm trying to say is, he was extreme. I'm not justifying that.
You see, that's the point. That's the point that I'm trying to make, though. You see what I'm saying? Is that not just that, he couldn't make the point that it's like slavery if he had put white people in that line, because if he had done that, then he would have had to show the white people being in a chattel slavery line, and that's not accurate with history, which means my original point is correct. He used a false premise to make a point about the NFL.
That's why you guys are getting arguments. If there's 20 stories to a building and you focus only on one story of the building, you got to look at the foundation, not the 13th floor or the 14th floor. Look at the foundation. What he's basically saying is that we are constantly being held back. That is the end story, end line.
Just black people.
I gotta reply to that, Paul.
Excuse me, Paul. Do you know racism doesn't apply to more than anybody other than blacks? You know why? Because we've been going through it longer than anybody else.
Yeah, but you're making a point. You're arguing against a point I never made, Roberto.
No, but why is only racism the storyline of this show?
Well, I can tell
you.
Because he sees a white boogeyman in every corner.
Well, this was the first few minutes of the show. The whole show. However many hours, it's an hour a piece. So the next 6 hours is all predicated on those 2 minutes of, let me put this in your head that it's like slavery. Then here's his story. Like you said, it's not about the 13th and 14th floor.
If
the first bottom floor,
it would have been better.
If you blow up the first bottom floor, the whole building falls. It's about the first 2 minutes. And the whole thing is predicated on this lie that he spits out. So I can't believe any fucking thing that he says if he's going to exaggerate like this. And guess what?
Well, you know, Pickle, I'm not laughing
every single
at
thing
you.
he
Everyone's
does
going to take
is
their
a publicity
own perspective through this storyline,
Roberto,
right?
He 100% did kneel against the flag. I have the quote, and he did have a chance to get back in the NFL for that pro day, and he said, I'll play anywhere, anytime, any stadium. I want to get in the NFL. They're not returning my calls. He put this whole narrative that I'm trying to get back in. The NFL won't let me. They said, okay, we're going to set up. We have 14 different teams coming to see you play, or it was like 12. He switched the location an hour before it was supposed to happen and said, no, never mind. You're going to play on my terms. And they said, fuck you. We're not letting you back in the league. Every single thing he does is publicity because he's not in the league anymore and he's not great anymore.
Hold on. But you do know the reason why he switched it, right?
They're discrediting this guy already. Honestly, I really, until I see facts of this, I just don't believe it.
I just
because they don't want this guy in the NFL. It's clear as day. Clear as day they don't want him in the NFL. And if the president has to make a comment, getting involved in sports, something's fucking wrong.
Oh, yeah, no, Roberto, I was watching the live. They were doing it live on ESPN. They were like, we're here at the whatever. Colin Kaepernick's going to be here in 2 hours to put on a combine or whatever. He didn't show up. And they're like, breaking news, Colin Kaepernick fouls out.
Pickle, do you know why he didn't show up, though?
Because it's a publicity stunt, Nzo. He never wanted to play.
He didn't show up because no. He didn't show up because, and this is a fact. You can watch First Take. They talk about it. They wanted him to sign a contract. And in that contract, it said that he would not be able to sue the NFL for anything else. And that is why he took it to another spot and had his own film crew there to film it. That's the reason
why.
Then
he didn't actually want to play. He doesn't know what a fucking job is. When I signed on at Best Buy, I signed a contract saying they can fire me at any point. I can't go to Best Buy and just be racist for no reason. They can fire me for anything. Anything. You have to sign a contract. It's a job.
Colin Kaepernick and Donald Trump right now. I really don't see the difference. Right now, this is just like Danny said, it's a tennis match. We are just going back and forth. We all have our different outtakes on how we saw this.
Yeah, we ain't gonna change, bro.
We're nowhere near on the same page.
That's a great match, though.
Let's go to the next topic, bro.
This is great. Okay, so first off, K-Dot came in. He had something. Oh, he just got kicked out. He had something to say. K-Dot, what'd you have to get off your chest, brother? What'd you want to say?
Cheers, fellas.
What's up, man?
I have a water that I'm cheering to the camera.
Nice meeting you, Pickle.
Yeah, you too in Comic Chat. Nice to meet you, bro.
You too, man.
Oh, you never met Comic Chat or Roberto?
We've never been on together.
Oh, okay. See,
I usually just want to talk about nerd shit and sports, but Nzo wanted me on.
I know Paul's.
I tried to get you. I tried to get you on Square One a couple times, bro.
I'm just usually busy on Saturdays. But I would love to join. I love talking sports.
The Avatar straight. I like that.
So let me ask this. Paul kicked out and probably come back. But let me ask this because there was
K-Dots, no?
Yeah. K-Dot was quiet though. K-Dot, you there? Okay, so K-Dot's
being real fun.
He's having some issues right now. Okay, so the next topic was the acceptable Negro part. What was you guys' issues with that one? He's like, oh.
I already said my piece on that.
Yeah, I want to hear Pickle.
Talk about that?
Yeah, I want to hear Pickle. Go ahead, Pickle. The acceptable
it's
Negro
just another
part.
false narrative.
Okay, how?
Because there are tons, excuse me, tons and tons of black characters that are more, I'm doing quotes, street or ghetto that we love. Like Will Smith in the same show that he talks about. Will, he's more from the streets, a kind of a thug guy. We love him just as much, if not more than Carlton. Why is he not
no fucking thug?
Will was not from the streets, bro.
But they try to make us think that, like he's from the streets in the show.
No,
he's the antithesis to Carl. He's a street guy. He doesn't know this rich lingo.
He's like
but
Drake.
We love him just as much. Why is Carlton a character that was created by the white man? To make
it's not true. I like Carlton more. But
Will was way funnier.
But first off, Will wasn't from the streets like the thug because his mother sent him to Bel Air so that he wouldn't be that dude.
Exactly.
Right? So the point of the acceptable Negro part was, like I said, back in the day, especially back then, when you talk about the dudes that were on TV, he showed it. He showed the Cosby Show. He showed Urkel. He showed Carlton, right? That was the case. It's only in the last maybe like, when did The Wire start and those type of shows? That's when you really started seeing the thug dude on TV. But before that, you had to be accepted by the white people to be on TV.
If
People
Denzel
don't talk
Washington Training
about
Day?
people don't talk about Samson and Son, right? They don't talk about those shows. The Red Fox show, right? Those shows were classic shows, but because those were urbanized, those are the ones that don't get talked about. But the
Good
ones that they're
Times?
talking about with acceptable good times don't get talked about as much as these shows.
I mean,
And
but it was
this
a good
is-
show.
Yeah, absolutely. They were all good shows. But what I'm saying is that's why he's saying when to be accepted by the mainstream, you have to be that acceptable Negro,
But
which
Will's the
was
main
the Cosby
character.
show.
He wasn't what he was saying.
No,
Which
he
destroys
was
his
the
narrative.
acceptable Negro, 100%. He was. He did not come off as the thug.
Then why didn't he
came-
mention Will? Because he knows it would have destroyed his narrative.
But hold
But he
on.
mentioned the show.
Did you guys see the first episode of The Fresh Prince?
Yes.
Will
Yes, I have seen
tore him up. What's his
All right,
name?
can you guys hear me now?
What's his
Yeah,
name?
we can hear you.
Cool.
Which one?
His
Carlton?
cousin. Carlton. He tore him up. What kind of clothes is that you're wearing? Why you walk like that? He was tearing him up because he was the HN house nigga.
Mm.
He was from the. You know what I mean?
The thug on there would have been Jeff.
The DJ.
Yeah, Jazzy
Oh,
Jeff.
yeah,
That was a thug.
Man, Carlton's tight. I'm
From the
glad
hood.
that dude kicked the dude out the sorority for slandering Carlton like that.
So what do you have to say, K-Dot? What's up, brother? We can hear you now.
I mean, this is not specifically what I want to get off my chest, but I'll
Mhm.
comment real quick. So look, I'll be honest. I didn't watch the documentary. There's many reasons I didn't want to watch it because of the clip I saw. I'll say this, right? Based off the clip I saw, I was not a huge fan of Colin Kaepernick trying to equate the NFL's draft to like slavery. I was not a huge fan of him even equating that, and like that's my thing. I just was not a fan of him taking those two concepts and trying to find some similarities. Because this is the difference with slavery and the NFL. The NFL, you have a choice to hop into that, right? Slavery, African American slavery, the transatlantic slave trade, there was no choice. There was people that was thrown on ships, taken across the sea, over to the Americas or wherever, and they was forced to do this labor that they wasn't paid for. They didn't want to be there, and they was, all this tragic stuff happened to them. Because at the NFL, you have the freedom of choice to do that, and if you do end up getting drafted, because it's limited spots, everybody's not going to get a chance.
Dude,
Then
according to them series, he held out against multiple contracts because his dream was to be an NFL quarterback. That was his dream. Why would he want to be an NFL quarterback if it's like slavery?
Because at the time he didn't know. And
But-
two, I'll say this.
You go.
Yeah, go ahead, K-Dot. No, finish up.
Every time we talk, I see Danny just shaking his head, putting his hand in his
Yeah, I
hand.
want to hear what Danny has to say after, but first off, go ahead, K-Dot. Finish up.
And look, I'll say this too. Like Colin, I have no issue with him kneeling and stuff. I was for all that. I was for him doing all that, right? And I was not for him getting booted, getting scolded by everybody for kneeling when he has the right to do so. That's his privilege to do so. But I may give the documentary a chance, maybe. But Nzo, I couldn't. I mean, I was watching The Harder They Fall today. Man, that was something better to watch at the moment, Nzo. You know it is.
Yeah, that's a fire movie. So what's this? Pickle, you sharing this there?
This is the synopsis of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. He's definitely a street guy. Come on.
No, he's the street guy that they want you to
He
think
lives in
is
a
the
tough
street guy.
neighborhood.
Wait,
Really?
okay, so you're saying that he's also
tough
an
West
acceptable
Philadelphia neighborhood.
Negro?
This is not
That's
an
what he is,
acceptable
Enzo?
Yes, 100%. Like, okay, you see,
Is the
this-
judge as
I mean,
well?
I mean,
Is
wait,
his
wait,
uncle
wait.
as well?
Pickle.
Yes.
Pickle. I'll explain.
God, so every single person in the cast was an acceptable Negro?
Yes,
Oh my God, you've blown my
Yes.
mind.
100%.
It's one of my favorite shows ever. I thought that was what Black rich
listen.
America was
You
like.
guys-
Yeah.
You guys watched The Wire, right?
Yeah, I've seen The
dudes
Wire.
on that show are not acceptable Negroes. They are not. Will Smith was the if you ever watch Bamboozle, the dancing and doing all kinds of stupid shit for the white people, that's what Will Smith was in that. That's
Are you
exactly
saying
what
that he
Why
was
was he doing it
literally
for the
like?
white people?
Wait, are you saying that he was like the? Are you equating him to? I'm trying to say this in a
The
PC
dancing the
way, so I
jig.
don't get
Yes,
dumb.
the
Yeah, the
black dude
dancing like the
the jig.
frog, the
Yes.
frog, like yeah.
I wouldn't
Yes.
say
All
that
the
about
brothers'
Lonzo. I
comments in
wouldn't
the
say that about
commentary.
You're
Lonzo.
equating
They
him
all
to the
agree.
frog that's like that does
Will ain't
the
hood.
whole show and dance.
Yes. Yes.
Look
Oh
at the
my
comments.
god.
Will ain't thug. Will ain't hood. Everyone
Exactly.
will tell
He's
you.
not.
Will grew up in the hood, but he wasn't hood.
Right.
We'll all
Because it was
tell
a
you
comedy
that. You
show, of
guys won't
course. He
listen.
couldn't be like
Yeah,
not
fucking
good.
Stringer Bell,
wait,
but
and Pickle. This is the thing about Will. He was like
It's Western
in
Philadelphia, born and
the
raised.
in the premise of the show when you watch intro and stuff, right? Will was more like borderline, could have went down a bad route, and that's why he went to Beverly Hills, stay with the banks and stuff.
Yeah, and his uncle sorted him out. His uncle
he
sorted him
wasn't
out.
a hardcore thug, but he was borderline, could have went there. So
yeah, but that's what I'm saying. He was not that. He's the dancing the jig type of dude, bro. That's what I'm saying.
Say that, man.
Yes.
Oh my god. Would you say hang on, I gotta ask a question. Do you think that Will Smith would actually say that about his character today?
Yeah.
Of course he wouldn't, but he was. He was that dude, guys.
Do you think that's secretly his opinion?
I don't know. I can't speak for Will. You know what I mean? I can't speak for what he thinks or what he does. But if you guys watch these documentaries, there are actors that know that those are the type of roles that they need to take to get it.
And you said the Cosby Show earlier. Do you think think Bill Cosby was completely, even when he was doing stand up?
Yes. No, I'm not talking about his stand up or anything. Show. I'm talking about his show is one of those shows that was supposed to be accepted by white people as well. That is why his show was so popular. Not because a lot of black people watched it, because it was acceptable to white people. Family Matters was acceptable to white people. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was acceptable to white people. That's what we're saying.
I mean, Martin was acceptable to white people. Like, make a funny show.
I certainly accepted it. I loved that show when I was a kid.
What's that?
Was a fitty.
A little bit, yeah, right. But yes,
Martin
but yes,
borderline go there too. I would say
yes, he did.
Martin was like, I wouldn't say the way Onzo was describing Fresh Prince. I wouldn't say it was that because Martin used to. They used to go. They used to do
same dude.
That was.
Dude, can I just look? Hang on. One of the most famous scenes in that is where his dad leaves him again.
Yes,
and it's like, and it deals with like that in the black community, and his uncle's there in front of him, and he's struggling with that. Are you saying to me that whole thing's bullshit? Like that wasn't talking about something that's like a major issue in black families. Like,
no, I'm not saying that. But he was accepted because he was that acceptable.
He was funny.
His show was.
He was funny. That's why I accepted him.
Though. You guys accepted him because he was funny, right? I get it, but that's why his show was popular because you guys accepted it.
Wait, hang on. Wait, if he's appealing, hang on. Doesn't humor cross racial lines? Dude, I watched like Chappelle's show, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I found it hilarious, even though he was mocking white people for 90% of that show, right?
And notice, as popular as Chappelle's show was, it was on Comedy Central. We are talking about shows that are on NBC, ABC, CBS.
Yeah, but he also did stuff that was not mainstream. It wasn't that he was acceptable. It was not mainstream acceptable because he did a lot of offensive shit on his show, man.
Right, and it was on different networks.
Yeah.
Right, but if he was that acceptable dude who was doing like Saturday Night Live sketches, you guaranteed that he would be on NBC or. Do
you think Eddie Murphy an acceptable Negro? Because he was on SNL.
Eddie Murphy started.
He started on SNL. Yeah, he started on SNL.
Yes, but that's what I'm saying. That's how you have to get your start, by being that acceptable Negro.
Wait, so is Metro? Hang on, is Metro and
Paul? Anything you say, he'll say yes.
Wait, so like any of the is that what you're going to do? Is that really like every Every single 80s film that had a black lead was about him being an acceptable Negro. It wasn't about the
No.
culture at all.
No, I'm not saying everything. I'm
I've
talking
disproved you,
about these
Pickle.
ones. I'm talking about these ones that are on the shows on ABC, these popular shows. The reason why these things were popular, the reason why these made what they made is because they were accepted by white people as well. Danny, you've been quiet for a minute. What you got to say on it?
I agree with you saying some of that. Kind of like if you watch Good Times, John Amos wasn't an acceptable Negro. That's why he didn't stay on the show the whole time. Jimmy Walker was. So that's an example that comes to mind. In my mind, this thing about slavery and stuff, I definitely don't agree with what K-Dot said and what any of y'all are saying about it on the bottom row, because I'm gonna give you an example. You know the difference between a house cat and a damn tiger or a lion. They got some similarities, but we know there are differences. That's the same thing he's saying about slavery. There are some similarities in the slavery process and the NFL process, but we know they're different. So I know a difference between a damn house cat and a fucking lion or a tiger. That's all they're saying. Don't read more into it than what it is. You may be offended by his comparison, and that is your right. But as a 51-year-old black male, I'm not offended by what he said. Maybe some of it was extreme, and maybe he could have said it better. I will give you that, like Nzo said earlier. But at the end of the day, if you want something to change, you can't keep being polite. For X amount of years, black people have been polite, or whatever race being polite. Or right now, I guess gay people feel like they're being polite because now it seems like their rights is coming to the forefront. When you've been on the top of the mountain for so long that when people that's been under you start knocking on the door, it makes you nervous. So Colin Kaepernick might be with somebody that's frustrated, tired of being in whatever situation he was in. I can relate to him as being a black man sometime in my profession. I was frustrated because shit, I was 2 or 3 times better than this sucker beside me, but he's getting promoted. I'm not. So I fully understand what Roberto said, that in some aspects of a professional job or athletic job or whatever profession you're in, most of the times you got to be better than your white counterpart. It ain't my rules. It's just the rules of the world. So I don't know how he felt, but I would feel some kind of way. I wouldn't give a damn how the NFL felt, because at the end of the day, I don't think the NFL gives a damn how Colin Kaepernick felt, because they felt like he was affecting their bottom line. So they pretty much said, fuck you, which is their right, because when you go into an organization like that, there are rules and regulations you got to follow. But you think I'd be damn kissing their ass if I was Colin Kaepernick? And maybe what he's saying is to get this conversation, because if he would have been nice and cordial and made the points that Paul said to make, we would be talking about this. But he said something that was so extreme, something that, according to Paul, he's so offended by, is starting this conversation. And now we see what the other person feel like. Now I know how y'all feel on your side of the fence. Now you know how we feel on the side of the fence. But before that, if everything was calm and rational and logical, we would never have this conversation.
Right. So, sometimes it takes extremes to get conversations going. You know what I mean? Sometimes it does. And this is what is and this is what is happening now. And that's great, right? That we are having this conversation 100%. That's why I'm like, Pickle, you got to come on here, man. Like, it ain't no one going to like,
according to Mr. Pickle, he said that the first 2 minutes kind of soured the milk for him. How about if the first 2 minutes was calm and cool? Would he even care about coming over here? Would he even be speaking as passionately about the subject, very intelligently, like he's been speaking about it? I see his side, but now he's definitely not side. So,
and you know what, comic chat? I wouldn't, or Danny, I wouldn't even care if a politician said this. I only care because I'm connected to football and I love it. Like, I'm not going to admit that. And I also hate that Colin Kaepernick rushed for 200 yards against the Packers in the playoffs. I love the Packers. Fuck that guy. On the field.
I knew there was some hate there. I knew it.
I got some Kaepernick bias up in here.
It is so hard for me.
He admitted he's biased. There it is.
Respect. About Aaron Rodgers, man, but I got to do it.
What was that, Danny?
I said it's so hard for me to talk bad about the bad man, but damn, I got to do it.
Yeah,
I have a genuine question to ask everybody on the top row.
Yeah.
Like, what would you guys do for $2 million? Like, $2 million were in front of you. I would eat a pile of dog shit. I'm not kidding. Let's say, Danny, it's dried up cow shit. You tell me you wouldn't eat that for $2 million?
No. Pickle, you're gonna have to raise the price. Raise the price a little bit more.
I would feed you that pile of dog shit if you wanted.
I would eat it if you gave me some of that cut. All I'm saying is $660,000 is the base pay for an NFL player. Like $660,000, I would do almost anything for. Poke me, prod me, stick your thumb up my ass. I don't care. I'm saying he's being exaggeratory, and he has that victim. When people say victim complex, he's actually showing that. He's saying even though I have all these amenities and I have all this money,
let's say I
still
give
not
you that.
good enough.
Let's say I give you that, but should he have been kicked out of NFL or even banned, whatever terminology you want to use?
Right.
Because he knelt. He didn't do
Maybe
nothing.
he's bitter. You know what I mean?
He is, but no, he's bitter. He has a vendetta against them.
I get it.
But he had the right to kneel. As the business owners, they had the right to hire or fire him whenever they wanted.
Dude, look, I looked a bit into this. No one can deny here that the ratings and the people started to tune out, right? This is why they banned the national anthem from being televised, right?
All about money.
Because they didn't want to risk this stuff anymore, right? So he changed the game forever because of the kneel, right? And that's something, it's not right. I'm not saying it's morally right, but I am saying they're running a business. And business owners have a right to fire people for whatever the hell they want. And they decided, I'm going to fire this son of a bitch because he's making my bottom line drop out of me. He's making the ratings drop, and I don't like it. And yeah, Trump put, and this is true. Trump also contributed to that wrongly. I think it was wrong. And I'm just being hyperbolic. Yeah, I'm just being hyperbolic. But anyway, like this is the thing. I agree with Pickle. He had the freedom to kneel, and he should have been able to kneel, and he did nothing illegal. I agree with Enzo. There was nothing illegal against the code. But when he affected their money, that's when they were like, this guy has to go. And that's where they didn't put him back for anything else. And then they tried to, as Pickle said, and his arrogance and his bitterness denied him to go back to the NFL.
Alonso said why he didn't go.
So hold on.
All gets discredited.
Right.
There are millions and millions of animal lovers on there, and they brought Michael Vick back in there, and I'm pretty sure that hurt their line. There's people that they bring back in there that beat their wives, and domestic violence is a big thing. And there people look at Kareem Hunt. It wasn't his wife, but he knocked the shit out of that girl in the damn. They got that on video. That's assault. That's unbecoming. That's unbecoming.
Yeah, but didn't Pickle just talked about how they tried to get him back into the NFL? They had 14 teams or whatever.
And
but the reason why he didn't do it is, but hold on, one more point to this, and this is a cop out that I like to say, because even though they say that it's because of the ratings, the NFL ratings have been dropping constantly, even when he's not in the league. They're still dropping.
They dipped hard, though. Like, I saw people in real life saying, because I live in Texas.
Dude, there were people burning their jerseys, man.
Yes, I heard but their ratings are still dropping.
Those jerseys aren't cheap, as far as I know.
What were you going to say, Danny?
I heard that same thing, too, but they're full of shit. And we all done said something, man, I ain't going to watch that shit. I know one thing. I'm watching the fucking NFL. I can tell you that. I don't care what the fuck they do. Let's say let's just say the NFL stand for the NIGGRFL. That's probably the only way I'm gonna start watching. Other than that,
I did want to say something real quick. To be fair,
go ahead, K-Dot.
To be fair, in Michael Vick's case, his situation, not as much people care about the rights of animals compared to when it comes to topics like slavery and stuff.
I can't tell.
I mean, there's people who care about animals, but we don't equate animals suffering to that of humans in general, any of us, So it's probably easier to bring back Michael Vick than Colin.
I don't know where you live.
No, the reason they didn't bring him back or whatever, Enzo's right. It was because he was too controversial, and Pickle's right too. All the conversations in the after game would be about his kneeling. It wouldn't be about the game itself. It would be about his movement that he's started. So it would just distract from the entire game. So they had if we think about it, I'm sure there was racism that played a role, obviously, but also I would say that a lot of other scenarios were involved as well. They were Every time he's interviewed, he's going to bring it up. Every time the reporters are going to ask him the questions about it. They're not going to ask any other players. They're not going to talk about the game. They're going to talk about his movement.
Let me ask you this,
there was
Paul.
all those things they had to consider, and I think that's why they didn't do it.
Danny, go ahead.
You
Danny.
said that after he left, that they stopped viewing the national anthem. Why couldn't they do that while he was there?
Right.
I agree with you. Why couldn't I do that? That's true.
Right.
But you know what? If they did that, then our conversation would be right now. Oh, they didn't want to show him kneeling in solidarity, and making a protest. They wanted to deny his right to protest.
No, you
see what I'm saying?
That's
the flip side.
You want to know what the problem with this is, though, Paul? After he left, there were still players kneeling. What was his name? I think it was Eric Reed. He was still kneeling.
People still kneel.
People still kneel. Yeah, that's why they don't show it.
So this is what I'm saying. This is the bullshit.
And when Kaepernick took a knee for the first time, there was 2 other guys kneeling with him, huh?
Yes.
Those 2 guys got suspended for a week
and
or
Donald
something.
Trump used him to get fucking elected, right? Donald Trump has a lot of friends in the NFL, and those, what they're known as the good old boys, if they let, I can promise you, if they ever release those NFL emails, I can guarantee you there will be emails between every single owner saying, fuck Colin Kaepernick. I can guarantee you that. NFL will never let those emails go around, because when they do, they will show how fucking racist those owners are. Fact.
I have a question, though. I have a question. Why do you support it?
Because it's a
we don't have facts. We don't have facts. We get those facts that those things actually happen. I will watch another game again. I promise you right now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm just saying, if you, because Danny just said, I'd only stop watching it if they called it, the N-word, FL, whatever, right? I'm just asking the question because, if you think it's so racist, this organization, they treat black people so badly that they've just literally fired a dude because he took a protest against a murder, right, of a black person, amongst the many others that happen every year in America, right? Then why support it? Why not use your money? Use your money better.
Do you think that this was racial?
But the thing, of course. Well, he kneeled because it was racial.
No, but do you think the outcome was racial? What they did to him was racial, or it was just because he kneeled? Anyone who kneeled would have went through the same scrutiny. I
think. Well, those other guys got suspended, but I feel like because he was the organizer, he also. Correct me if I'm wrong.
He's the organizer.
Just correct me if I'm wrong, though.
In front of those guys.
Correct me if I'm wrong. There were multiple interviews with him where he stated, his particular opinions on things as well.
I have never once ever heard him stating that he did this intentionally for the flag. Never.
I have no.
I'd like to hear that recorded.
Pickle would know more than me on this one, but I'm pretty sure that he did
show evidence. You can't state that because
that he
this whole conspiracy. I've never heard it.
No. That he had multiple interviews where he was talking about why he was kneeling, etc. I don't know about the flag thing, but I know that he had multiple interviews. And I believe wasn't he not warned? Was he not told to stop?
No,
he was warned because he was doing it during the national anthem.
Yeah, so he was warned. Yeah, so he was warned to stop.
Celebrating the flag, right?
So he was warned to stop. He didn't stop. So then the employer that he is under decided to fire him.
No, my point is,
it's like me going to work and saying, I'm going to come to work and wear not business clothes. I'm going to wear dress clothes.
That if you take a knee during the flag, you're
fired.
To be
right.
fired.
No.
It doesn't state that in their contract.
No, well, it's not in the contract. No, but again, at will employment, which I know is a big thing in America.
Something up here.
Look, I don't have the actual footage, but this is from the New York Times, and this is an article defending Kaepernick, and they have this quote. So I'm going to assume that they're not misquoting him here.
Well, New York Times are lefty, so
yeah. Read it. Go ahead.
This was after his first time or his second time kneeling. He said, "I'm not going to stand up to show pride in a flag for a country that oppresses black people and people of color. To me, this is bigger than football. It would be selfish on my part to look the other way. There are bodies in the streets and people getting paid leave and getting away with murder." He directly said, "I'm not standing for this."
But hold on, Pickle. Isn't the national anthem played for the flag? Aren't they
I'm-
standing and saluting the flag?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
that's
if
what
he's
it's doing.
taking a
People who
knee, he's
died.
obviously not saluting the flag. But
I'm
his
just saying, people say
intention
that
is
it wasn't
not
about
to
the
go
flag, but it
against the
was.
U.S., against the flag itself. It's the injustice happening
See,
within the realm
right.
of what this flag represents.
No,
Right,
I don't
People
care
want to
that,
exactly.
explode it into something different. That
Exactly.
just supports their agenda.
Yes, exactly. Yes,
That's
it's
what it
what
was
the
really
flag
done for.
represents. Exactly.
No,
And
no,
if
no,
you
I
guys
know,
don't know, and if you guys don't know, the history of that national anthem that you guys sing in America is fucking racist.
Teach me, Nzo. Teach me about America.
That national anthem is
Man,
racist.
this word is getting used tonight.
I would have to go and find the
Teach
YouTube
me
video,
about
whatever,
America.
But that national
Manny,
anthem
you racist
was
singing anthem people.
that national anthem was done in, I think, I can't remember, like 19 something, and it had to do with something about the slaves and shit
I
like that.
believe you. I believe.
Hey,
Probably.
Nzo, if it makes you
Yes.
feel better, I forgot what the national anthem was. I haven't said it in so long.
Good. There you
It's
go.
O.O.C. Can you see by the dawn? Whatever.
Pickle don't remind
I
me.
don't
Right.
fucking know.
I would have to find the video, and if
I'm
I
in
ever do,
protest.
I'll link it to you guys so you can watch it out. You know, it may be something that, hey, you know, a YouTuber did it and whatever. It may not be true, whatever, but this is what I heard from it. So I can't like sit here with the gospel and say, yes, basically on racism. But usually back in the days, a lot of the things that they've done back in the days had to do a lot with the racism and slavery and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So the person in the video kind of broke it down in a way to where I was like, oh, that kind of makes sense.
Mr.
But
Pickle.
Yeah,
What's
go
up?
ahead, Danny.
No,
go ahead.
That article was 2016, right?
That was an article that was encompassing everything that it was doing like the timeline of it. I think it was written afterwards.
Okay, 2016 was the time when he started kneeling, correct?
Yeah, August 14th, 2016.
Okay, he came into the league in 2011. So from 2011 to 2016, he never knelt at the national anthem. He didn't start until the black people started getting killed by white officers at an alarming rate. That's when he started.
But hasn't that always been happening according to certain people?
Not at the frequency that it was happening during that time period. There's a time period when the media plays this too now.
Right.
Every time
Hell
you turn
yeah.
on the damn TV, you seeing a white officer killing a black officer. I mean, a black person for whatever reason. There was a couple in Charleston. There was some in Texas. All across the country, media showing this. I'm sure it was happening way before then. Like other stuff was happening before we got all this social media and phones. But based on the time frame and the timeline from 2011 when he first came in NFL to 2016, Colin Kaepernick ain't had no problem with the American flag. He stood up, saluted every game. When we start seeing this at an alarming rate, and then it was brought to his attention, and he started investigating, then that's when he decided to stop doing it. So it got nothing to do with the flag. It got with the fact that black people in his mind, and then other black people mind, and then some white people mind, saw the frequency of blacks being killed by white law enforcement.
I think he did it after Trayvon Martin.
That was killing his people.
I think he did it right after Trayvon Martin, if I'm not mistaken.
You may be correct.
But my whole thing was people for years, even Nzo said it, it's not about the flag. It's not about the flag. I agree that the actual message is about more boots on the ground, things that are happening. But he said in the interview, I'm not standing for that flag. And then when Drew Brees came out and said, I don't respect that, I disagree with that, Drew Brees got excommunicated from ESPN, Fox Sports. Everybody was shitting on him.
You know
if you
what,
disagreed
Pickle?
with Kaepernick, you're the enemy. Like you
know-
can't even challenge Kaepernick's point of view.
You know
Drew
what,
Brees
Pickle?
was right.
You know what, Pickle? That article may be right, and he may have said that, but I think he's end up clarifying that, right? Because at that point, he was just starting to kneel, right? And then after that, he clarified that, listen, it's not really the flag that I'm disrespecting. It's the fact that the flag represents the racism and the allowing of my people to get murdered by the cops.
And I'm supposed to salute it?
Right. You see, and this is the thing. Like I said, people take what he says, and they're like, "Oh, this is exactly what it is." Blah 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 blah. But at the end of the day, when you really go around and check on it, he has said many times it's for the injustice that has happened to his people,
What is
and
our
not
rant?
only the fact that it was
no
just
peace.
right,
No
and not only the
justice, no
fact
peace.
that there was what happening, they weren't getting reprimanded for what they were doing, and that's where he had the issue.
But why are those his people? He's half white. Why are whites his people?
What do you identify him as?
He's mixed.
What does he look like? You like a white
A
man or a
mixed
black
guy.
man? No.
Why do mixed people get the label of black automatically when they're half white? They're just
That-
half
goes
white.
that's-
It's
right.
about what you look, bro.
Yes,
I
and
never
that's
seen no white guy with
your
afro like
people.
I
That's
guess I'll say
your
black because he
people
has an
that-
afro. Yeah.
Right, but that's your people that do that. Pickle. It's white people that do that. It's
Yeah,
I got
white
no
people.
people.
It's white.
Your
Yo,
people.
Pickle.
Oh my God.
Slave driver.
I was just making jokes, but at the end of the day,
people, man.
but at the end of the day, it's white people that put that label on him. It's white people that say he's black, not white. We will say he's biracial, but white people will look at him and say, "No,
I think
that's
he
a
looks
black
more
man."
Arab, if you want the truth.
I mean, in all honesty, right?
Mhm.
Colin Kaepernick to me, he looks black. So if I first,
Right.
let's say
if
if I
he shaved
first,
his afro,
if I first met Colin, I'm like, yeah, well, he's colorful, right? He's colorful. I'm assuming he's black. He looks a little bit black, but I know he's mixed.
Mhm.
But the first thing, if I do see him, I'm just like, oh, he's black. Like I have a friend who is mixed, right? And he obviously looks white, but he's also part black too. But he looks white as freaking snow, but he is part black.
And I'm
But
going
when
to
I
show you.
first see him, I'm
going to.
assuming he's white because he's white. I know he's mixed with something else. I'm like, oh, he's white.
I'm going to show you guys something real quick too, as well, while you do that, right? Because, I gotta find a picture. But my son is light skinned, right? My son, Roberto knows him. He's been. I'll find this picture. Oh yeah, this one. Now, granted, my son is a lot older than this picture, but just to get an idea, right? So that's what my son looks like. That's my son's complexion. And you know how many times I have met fucking people and they're like, "Oh, is his mother white?" No, his mother's not white.
Wait, is that you, Nzo?
That is me.
Wait. People thought he was white.
Damn.
Yes.
you thought that was R. Kelly, huh?
Wait. Are you serious?
Oh, shit.
Are you serious? There's white people
Oh,
I
watching.
do looking like R. Kelly back in the day, boy.
Yeah, many times.
See,
All right, guys.
Oh, no.
I think it's a Canadian thing because in America, we would have identified your son as black from jump.
No, my son is identified as black, but the point was people would ask me, "Is his mother white?" And his mother's not white. His mother's his complexion, right?
Yeah, but
So that's
don't you
my
see
point.
like that? Don't you see that's
I mean,
a
if your
systematic
son was
problem
like
in America?
Colin,
Like,
if your
Well,
son
we're
had
like
Canadian.
isn't that a problem in America where you're like, oh, you're half this, you're half that, or you're a quarter this, you're a quarter that. Like, why does it matter?
It ain't that stressful. I mean, I wouldn't say Alonzo son. If Alonzo son like Alonzo Ball, one of them guys, that complexion, I might would say, think in my mind, one of his parents is white or something. But his son, to me, looked like a regular
black
It
kid.
does, but because
Right.
he's lighter shade than Anzo, they automatically assume he had a kid with a white girl. Or why
Exactly.
isn't he his complexion?
Exactly.
That's what they think, Danny.
Yes. Wait,
Anzo,
that is
so
the
what you-
point.
Because
Anzo,
it's, even me, they tell me you're mixed, right? Because I'm not
Right.
dark enough.
Right. And Roberto's mom is
No,
is
I would ask you, was you mixed? Because I ain't ever heard no brother last name of Mendez. That's why I would be like,
Stop, man.
I'm gonna tell you, in America, you got some Spanish or something in you, bro. That's what I would say. But
Puerto
not-
Rican,
look-
man.
Yeah, Danny's
You like
Puerto
a black
Rican.
man to me.
we would have thought you was like Hispanic or something.
Yeah,
Yep.
there you go. That's
Hey,
what
Anzo, I
I
have
get
one
when I
more
go to
question
the
for you.
US.
Sure.
To go back to the kneeling thing. So when he knelt, but like genuinely, like when he knelt, you said that he had two other people with him on the sideline.
Mhm.
Do you know who it was? It was like, wasn't it like a
No.
linebacker or something? or like
I
a
think
back,
one of
a
them
wide
was a
receiver.
cornerback or a safety.
All right, whoever it was, the fact that only Kaepernick got the attention because he's a quarterback and he's famous, doesn't that show you that the NFL is all about power dynamics and not race? It was 3 black guys. One was a quarterback. He was the only one who got the shine.
So
It's about power levels, not race.
So you just said it because Kaepernick said that in the video right at the beginning of that. He says it's a power dynamic. He said that.
Well, it's a job. Yes, it is a job. That's another fancy word for job.
It's a power dynamic. He said that. But go ahead, Danny. You were going to say something? I'm going to find a picture of
he
my
was the only one that was. The other guys, these guys, the reason why they're still in the NFL because at the end of the day they say, okay, I believe you. I agree with you saying, Colin Kaepernick, but I got to feed my family. So they wasn't on the front line like he was, all that kind of stuff. Eventually they stopped and chilled out or whatever. Colin Kaepernick was the one that stayed in it, and unfortunately, it cost him his career.
But even Eric Reed, he's a big player. Like he didn't even get the shine that Kaepernick did because he's not a quarterback. So like even showing that in the NFL there are levels to it. Like quarterbacks just get more shine. Period.
Or maybe Kaepernick was getting more following than the 2 others, so he's the ringleader. Let's go after him.
Maybe so. I didn't even mention how he profited off of it. Now I didn't like that either.
Oh my Lord!
Okay. So let's get to this. But hold on, I just want to show you guys a picture.
Oh, the can of worms continues to be opened.
This is my mom. This is what my mom looks like, right? So this is another reason. Like this is my mom right here. So my mom's very light skinned. She was like they would say kind of yellowish, right? So that's one of the. That's her brother here. Yeah.
No,
that's
he let that guy that play.
Fishburne, man.
You in the back.
Lawrence Fishburne.
Yeah. That's me in the back. Yes.
Anzo, you wanna know who you?
Biggie Smalls.
No. He reminds me of freaking Ezel from Friday. Ezel.
Right. So that's why my son has that complexion because it's in my genes as well, right? So a lot of people when they seen him is like, oh, his mother's white, and I'm like, no, his mother's black, you know. So a lot of people didn't understand that, but yeah, that's just that part. So I can understand it. But Pickle, you were making a point. What was it? Because
something about him profit. Oh yeah, him profiting off of it. And,
yeah.
Deal.
What the fuck is wrong with that? Everybody profits off of these things. Why is it?
But not everybody preaches about things in our country and then doesn't care about the same thing in other countries. There's actual slavery in other countries. Did Martin Luther King have merch?
Okay, come on, bro. Like, really, you're talking about?
Oh, here we go.
If you really have a cause, you don't fucking sell merch with the cause on it.
Hang on, can I ask a question? Hang on, wait. I got no problem with him. I got no problem with him selling merch with the cause on it. But did all the proceeds from that merch go to a charity or to helping black causes, or did they go into his back pocket?
You don't know
That's
that.
No, I'm asking that question. I don't know. That's what I'm asking.
Right,
you see,
none of us know that.
Charity. He lost.
Yeah, but it's.
Go ahead, Danny.
He has a nice house.
No.
You see in the show.
You see what I'm saying? This is the thing. It's like I won't kneel for the flag, but I'll definitely profit off it. Like it's just no.
But we don't know what he was doing with that money, so you can't.
We know he bought about a $3,000 suit for that show.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, that suit that he was wearing in the
fucking
series.
millions of dollars during the fucking NFL, anyways. Danny sent us something in the private chat. I'll put that.
Wait, hang on. I got a question for you. Then, isn't it a bit hypocritical to be playing a game that he considers to be racist, kneel against a flag that he considers to be racist, but also make American dollars that are also racist?
No, that's what capitalism is. Make money off of that shit, bro. What are you talking about?
Then you can just say the NFL's what
so again, principles don't. Okay, exactly. Then they can make profit by firing him.
They did.
What?
He has no room to complain if he's going
when
to.
When they fired him, all bets were off.
Facts.
Nike has a history, like he says, the NFL has a history of racism. Nike has a history of sweatshops where people pass out and get
exactly
in other countries, and he made shoes with his cause and his face on.
Do y'all own any Nike gear?
I haven't bought Nike since 2012.
I don't like Nike. Yeah.
I just don't like. I think Nike's overpriced.
I'm gonna wear the shit out of it.
Yeah, same here.
But I
think Nike is overpriced.
You see this right here? You see that?
Oh, you love Nike, Nzo.
You see that? You see the hat?
You're a classic guy. You probably think Jordan's the GOAT, don't you?
Jordan is the GOAT.
You probably
Be
think Jordan's
quiet.
the GOAT, don't you?
Jordan is the GOAT. He is the GOAT. What are you
That's
saying?
a conversation for another time.
Are you saying Jordan's not the GOAT?
What are you saying right now? You're going to get the Shaq face. Have you seen that famous interview where Shaq's like, Shaq,
hold on, Danny.
6-0, 6-0, my dude.
Hold on.
Come on.
This one is you, Danny. This is all you. Go ahead.
I'm not prepared for this argument, so I'm going to end it here. It is LeBron James. We can talk about it sometime.
Yeah, no way. No way.
Pickle.
Paul, you don't know.
LeBron James, get out.
Pickle.
James.
Pickle.
He gone 6-0?
That's
Pickle.
right, Caleb. He needs a Phantom Zone. That shit hasn't been used in a while.
Saturday. Just I don't care what you do. 4:30. Give some space. Come on, square one, and let's have this talk.
I will try. I will have to prepare some notes.
Okay.
I mean, I'll show my hand. I think they're tied.
Ooh.
I think they're tied for number one. But
No,
I can
they're
make
not.
the case it's
They're
LeBron.
nowhere near it.
Paul, you don't know about basketball.
Dude, are you serious? I own like a gold and gold cards. What are you saying right now?
Hold on. I want to play this video. Danny, did you have any certain spot you wanted to play it at, or
no? This is okay. I'm giving
I believe I can
Joe Klatt's father was a veteran, and he said he felt some kind of way because Colin Kaepernick knelt. Then Shannon Sharp said, "Look,
Shannon rip him."
Oh man, Shannon goes into him, but he does it in such a nice, nasty way. He said, "Look, the man told you exactly what he was doing, why he was doing it, this, that, ABC, 1, 2, 3, and you still didn't. So if you just play maybe like the first 4 or 5 minutes of it,
okay,
because it really sparks about how Dabo Sweeney, who Shannon was kind of close to, said something that kind of rubbed Shannon the wrong way."
All right, so let's get into this and then we'll take it from there.
Difficult topic, and one of the subjects that we
you guys can hear it
in the global discussion is the difference between the college game and the pro game, and the nature of what these players are representing at each levels. You're much more of an individual in the NFL than you are in college, and that's the lens through which Dabo is speaking about this. So I agree with almost everything that he's talking about. In the college level, if a player decided to do this, I think it would bring unwarranted attention to players that possibly aren't ready for this at 18 years old, aren't ready for that discussion, aren't ready for a camera in their face being asked a question of this magnitude. So as an individual, you have to understand that as a college athlete, even if you're ready to have that discussion, versus an NFL athlete, which is almost an independent contractor at times with a non-guaranteed contract, with the ability to get traded at any given moment. So that's the lens with which Dabo is looking at this through. And then as it relates to what he said about the nature of the protest and the divisiveness, that again is shaped by our lens, right? Your background is going to shape how you view it. Skip, your background is going to shape how you view it. And Joy, my background is certainly going to shape how I view what Colin Kaepernick has done. My background happens to be that I'm the son of a veteran. My dad fought in Vietnam as a Marine, and I'm incredibly proud of that fact, and I'm proud of him. So when I first saw what Kaepernick was doing, I was immediately frustrated and felt like it was a disrespectful gesture towards my father. So it was personal for me. When I looked at what Seattle did, I immediately was proud of what Seattle did. And I thought, now that's a positive way to start a conversation and to get this conversation started on the table. So the divisiveness of an individual in Kaepernick, yes, was frustrating for me personally. Whereas the hopefulness of what I saw Seattle doing, standing arm in arm, starting a discussion between everybody, was somewhere where I was hopeful and positive about what could happen.
By the way,
going forward.
Quick thought. Your father's also a coach, or was
he? Was, yes.
So now you're viewing it through that prism also. That when Dabo speaks as the coach of a team, you're thinking, my father might have viewed it that way also.
That's right.
Had Colin Kaepernick protest not taken place, and the Seattle Seahawks walked out there arm in arm, what would you have thought?
I think that would have been a positive starting point.
You don't know what you don't have the luxury of knowing what Colin Kaepernick had done.
Understandable. I would have thought that the togetherness aspect, the team aspect, everybody from every walk of life on that team, every background, every lens, like we've been talking about here, walking together as one would have been a statement
What
and
up,
a flag
Cole?
in the ground that would have said, we're ready to tackle an issue together.
But you don't. But see, here's the thing. You know what Colin Kaepernick had done. I ask you. You don't know what Colin Kaepernick had done. The Seattle Seahawks walked out arm in arm. What are you thinking?
And he also doesn't know what Colin Kaepernick is protesting
Exactly.
about. Okay,
Exactly.
So you also don't know what he's protesting about. So you don't know why the Seahawks are doing
All the Seahawks did was come out arm in arm.
I would have asked why they came out arm in arm.
See? Now, Colin Kaepernick did what he did and told you why he did it, and you're still frustrated.
The frustration was, and I think you'll understand this because you had Nate Boyer on last week and had a great discussion with Nate, and he's been tremendous.
Yes.
Colin's stance has evolved. You would have to.
He told you. He when they asked him, they said, Colin, why were you seating during the national anthem? He said there are injustices going on with the police brutality. He said that. Now, he had a bigger press conference after the second time.
Yes, he did.
But he did explain the first time around why he did what he did. So it was clear to me. I think we changed the narrative. Well, he's protesting the flag. He's disrespecting the veterans. He's disrespecting our military. Then it got to the point where he's protesting, and we're not even talking. See, you still haven't mentioned the issues. You're upset because you were frustrated because your dad was a veteran.
That's right. That's right.
But you hadn't talked about the issues.
I understand that because, again, that's the lens that I view things for. So I immediately, when he didn't stand for the flag and the anthem until he came out and talked about what he did, I was immediately frustrated and disappointed and felt like that was a disrespectful act towards my father. Then I heard what he said, and then his stance has evolved. I did not like the socks that he wore at practice. I did not like that. His stance has evolved and softened, and I think he's done a remarkable job. I give him a lot of credit for what he's done because he has started a discussion.
He had socks where police officers were pigs on his socks.
And Dallas and things.
That's not cool.
For me to get behind it. Now, Shannon, the problem that I saw with Kaepernick is that immediately it wasn't about the issues until he brought them forth. The softer nature of what Seattle did and the more together nature of what Seattle did, for me, put me at a point where I was like, I want to hear what they have to say. I want to hear why their stance is the way it is. I want to hear what.
We'll get to what Shannon says, and then we'll
and that's why I have the thoughts that I do.
But even when the police brutality that we see, even when they've done wrong, we see the police stand arm in arm in unity. They're unified.
They are.
But you're not frustrated with that. You were frustrated by Colin Kaepernick because you thought it would. See, the military, and I commend your father for what he did and the service and the men and women provide. But the military don't own the flag, Joel.
No, they don't.
They don't own it. Somehow, some way down the line, we think that only the military can represent the flag. And the flag represents all things to everybody. And I said this to me and Skip, we talked about this before.
Not necessarily. No, and I don't want to interrupt, but the flag means something very
to you,
particular to me. And I started this whole discussion by saying we view this entire situations through very individual lenses. That's the lens with which I viewed it because that's what the flag means to me.
You also view it through the lens of being a white male,
100%,
that has never had to have an amendment, an act,
Facts.
Constitution amendment
Facts.
for your civil rights. You've never had the white male had to have fair housing. You've never had to say,
neither did Shannon Sharp.
You can't go, Joel.
Yes, he has.
Oh no, you don't know Shannon Sharp's story, bro. I can give you that too.
So unless you walk the mile,
Shannon Sharp lived in a house.
He doesn't know his.
Experienced it.
Go ahead and cut it off.
In the life. See, everybody talks about, well, you
Hold
know,
on, let me hear what he says.
But I tell you what, I bet you Jerry Jones would not trade places with a 75-year-old black man in Chicago or Detroit. I bet Joel Klatt would not trade places with a 30-year-old black guy from Chicago or Watts. I bet he wouldn't do that. You know why? Because it's great to know that I'm white and I'm a male in America and I'm viewed totally different than any other demographic in America. That's fact. That's not fiction. That's not a prism.
Facts.
That is factual.
Understandable.
Stop it there.
Hell yes. I agree.
And we'll get our final comments before we close it up. So let's go ahead.
I like what he said.
Hey,
Oh,
that's, a
definitely.
mic, that's a mic drop.
No. We'll go one around and then
No
we'll
fiction
close it
and
up.
facts.
Go ahead, Pickle. You first, then Paul, then we'll go around.
No, I agree with them. I would, if I could pick, I like that I'm a white male in America. Hell yeah. But just like he said that.
Oh my God.
No, I mean it's the best thing.
No,
to
that's
be.
fine.
I agree.
That's
it's
fine.
the best thing. I can admit that. I'm not going to just completely just sit here and lie and fabricate it like some conservatives. The best thing to be in America is a white male with no disabilities. The thing he said about the flag, like the flag can mean one thing to Shannon Sharp or to Kaepernick, like he feels like it's disrespecting his heritage. But just like he said, he has the freedom to feel that. Anybody who has veteran fathers or grandfathers has the right to feel like it's disrespecting them. So like he said, everybody's going to feel whatever they want about the flag. They have that right. I don't know. I mean, it was fun having this conversation because like when we were talking in the Twitter chat, it got a bit heated because like you can't hear the tone of how we're talking to each other and you can't hear the pacing of how we're speaking. So I'm glad I came on for a little bit. It was fun. That's it, man.
I'm glad you came on too.
Just dead wrong.
It's okay. I think you're dead wrong, but I'm glad you came on too because I didn't want you to think that it was going to come on here and we're just going to attack and all that. It's about having this civil conversation. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and at the end of the day,
every perspective.
Right, exactly. That's what it's about, man. So I'm glad you came on, Pickle. Thank you for coming on. Paul, you're up. What are your final thoughts? What do you think? Go ahead.
I like what he kept drilling down to. I don't remember their names, but when he kept saying to him, you can't have the context of him kneeling. Like you can't explain yourself, explain why you liked their like holding their arms together without him kneeling. You wouldn't understand it without him kneeling. So like I like that he kept driving that back, that basically Colin took the hit for all the other black players doing their things now. Like he took the hit, right? And it may have been morally wrong or anything, but he will go down in history as the person who started this, like within the NFL. So like, I like that he kept driving that home. I still I don't think you're totally wrong, but I do agree. Like it's not that I think Danny said earlier that I was like personally offended by what he said. I can't be personally offended by like his reference from slavery to the NFL because I'm neither of those. I'm not a player in the NFL, and I'm also never been a slave, and I'm not black, right? So that's the first thing out of the way. What I will say is that I go back to my previous point. People, unfortunately, today there are too many people living in extremes. There's no way to get a point across. Like we're having, and I do agree with Denny. Like we're having a conversation now because he made that extreme, right? And there's people that have been swayed and people that haven't been swayed. And I would say that like he, I feel like he is an NFL player and a black man, right? So he has the things to speak on this, but on the flip side, I feel like he needs to get a better publicist if he wants his message to actually win people over to his point of view. He has to get someone along the line has to get out of the extremes in order to have people from the other side understand and come across to their viewpoint. Like make good arguments, make facts-based arguments. Don't make hyperbolic extreme arguments, and you will get majority of the people on board. A lot of the moderates will come straight across. So that's pretty much my only statement on his whole thing. I like the series overall. I really like the end. I respect that he held out against all people telling him his baseball coach telling him he's a fool, like all these people telling him he's a fool. And but I did like that his dad stood by him. Like his dad and mom stood by him at the end, and he lived for his dream, which was to become a quarterback. So I like the series ended like that. And yeah, that's it.
All right. I forgot to tell Pickle, but first, Paul, shout out your channel, and then Pickle, shout out your channel, please.
Oh, yeah, it's just HalogenHelix. It's on the screen there next to my name. Yeah, I do pop culture talk sometimes. Previously, but we sometimes have a big, very robust argument about certain things. Depends on who's on. But generally, I do my pop culture chat with Mike and Jess on a Thursday for the Americans, Friday for Australians.
Absolutely. Pickle, shout out your channel real quick.
Same with me. Philosophical Pickle. I'm actually about to go live watching Zack Snyder's Justice League for a second time after this. I'm not ready for that, but I talk about pop culture, comic books, movies. I just made a video about Kaepernick, so if you didn't like what I said here, don't watch that one because I was heated.
You doing a watch party?
I mean, it's just me commenting on the movie. Whoever can join, whoever wants to join can watch it with me.
I'll send the link. I might pop in there. Danny Graham, you're up next, brother.
I know Roberto gonna go, so if you want to go,
no, go ahead, Danny.
Thanks for inviting me on the show. Nice meeting Philosophical Pickle. Paul, I think I've streamed with him earlier this year. I think another stream. Very interesting conversation. I don't necessarily agree with what was said on certain aspects of it, but at least I heard both sides. So when you hear both sides, then at least that gives you time to ponder and think. Maybe something can be more come to a happy medium on certain situations. So at the end of the day, I still think that this man. I keep going back to this base element. He was kicked out of NFL for nothing he did illegal. That's just the grain of sand that sticks in my craw. But at the end of the day, there's nothing I can do about it. I'm not mad he's profiting from it because I think anybody else would profit from it if they could. I do see the points that Paul and Pickle said about maybe being a tad bit extreme, but sometimes you got to do extreme things to get extreme reactions and stuff. And then you keep saying, if you keep doing the same thing over and over and over and over and expecting a different response, then that's the definition of insanity. So, like I said earlier, I'll say it again. This extreme measure that Paul keeps referring to got this conversation going tonight. So maybe something extreme meant something civil, like this conversation. So very, very enjoyable conversation. As usual, I was planning on sitting here and watching Star Trek, but fucking Nzo brings these damn conversations. And Roberto be pulling these damn topics and shit. Leave me alone on Wednesdays.
Glad we could pique your interest. Shout out
glad
your
you
channel,
came by,
Mr.
Danny.
Graham.
We needed the
Facts.
American perspective, brother.
Thank
Facts.
you, sir.
I'm glad all you guys came along. But shout out your
thank you,
channel,
gentlemen.
Danny.
Comment chat. I'm 1/3 of Chaos Central. Me, Nzo, Chris Knight. We all combined, stream together on different shows. All at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Times on 3 different nights: Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. And of course, myself, Roberto, Chris, and Nzo, we come together to form Voltron on Square One. We definitely got an open invitation to Mr. Pickle because he's talking about Tom Brady ate the GOAT.
And Jordan ate the GOAT?
Oh my God, yeah.
Every day I'll talk about that.
Yeah, you got to come on, bro.
Facts.
We have an open invitation, 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturdays.
I will try to be there as long as the Saints aren't playing.
I will send you the link. You can come in and talk your shit and bounce if you have to, but we gotta hear your shit.
Yeah.
We just gotta make sure Chris ain't there too, because these two will be agreeing like a motherfucker.
I'll make sure he's there. Anybody who agrees with me, bring him on.
He can agree with you with Brady because he can't stand Brady.
Facts. Roberto, go ahead, brother.
Yo, what am I saying?
Yeah, final thoughts and your channel.
On my final thoughts on the Kaepernick
and everything. Yeah, the show in general. Yeah, go ahead.
When you look at something as sensitive as this, you got to do it in third-person perspective. Leave all your thoughts and everything behind and take it for the true value. Maybe then your assessment will be a little clearer. Where you can find me, you can find me right here Wednesday nights with my boy Nzo and our special guest. Thank you for coming, Paul, Mr. HalogenHelix, and Mr. Pickle, Philosophical Pickle. Thank you for joining us tonight. Danny, it's always a pleasure. Hopefully F the Ego will be back soon. I don't got jokes for that one tonight. And you can find us Saturday with Mr. Comic Chat. I wasn't there last Saturday because I had an appointment to get to. But football ain't being too friendly right now, so I'm glad I wasn't there. But I'm looking forward to being there this week.
These last 2 weeks, man, I want to throw that shit away. What the fuck?
Last week, 2 right out of 15 games is probably the worst I've ever done since I'm watching football. Only 2 games right.
It was the weirdest week of the whole year.
Being by yourself, I don't think I got no more than 2 or 3. It's disgusting.
Thank God I'm not in. What do they call that? Eliminator or what's that pool that you go in where you got to pick one team every week?
I don't know. I think you froze up, Nzo.
Yeah, he froze. He's not that interested.
He's just cheesing like the Joker.
I ain't lying.
He looks like a villain.
I'm sure everybody lost money last week on that Jets game, man.
Oh yeah. And
Who
Dallas. Fucking Dallas.
No, I knew Broncos was winning that game. I put it in Capitals.
Yeah, I know.
Ain't no way I knew that. I was like, what the hell is Dallas doing?
I said, wait till November, Danny. Wait till November.
I want him to lose now. Was the fan of me happy? But shit, fuck, I want to win.
Fucked up my picks, I know.
Yo, hold on, guys. Hold on. I know I've been saying watch Dallas in November, but ain't it funny? The first week in November, I think Dak had the worst game of his career.
Horrible. Horrible.
Fucking
horrible. Kill my fantasy league.
Awful.
Kill my fantasy league. I'm surprised I won that week.
See?
But
I
holy
won by
fuck.
1 point, man.
Yeah, I seen that.
How did I do that? I with Claypool.
I
was
love
out
food.
at the halftime.
Yep. I love food. Thank you for putting things in the chat. I just had to say one thing quick before we go. Caleb, are you the same Caleb that be following Truth 31? Quick answer on that question.
What's that?
Because if it is, right, first off, I didn't know you do streams, so we'll definitely have you on one day, no problem. But if it is, I just gotta say that dude is capping and he's causing drama, man. So I think you should stay away from that guy.
I play Roberto this Sunday.
Big drama. You do?
I'm about to dig out all my tricks now, buddy.
Nzo, who else do you want to call out?
Huh?
Who else do you want to call out?
No, but I just wanted to call that dude out because I think it's cap and I think it's some bullshit that he's doing on that shit. You know what I mean? Like straight up bullshit, harassment of the gal, and I don't respect that shit. That's just me.
Why don't we pull in more women in this?
If some of you guys know what I'm talking about, right?
I don't know who that is.
Okay, so you guys don't know. But if it's the same Caleb that's in, he knows who I'm talking about. And you've always come, respect you coming and checking out the show, but I just think the dude is a clown. That's just me. But with that being said, guys, we're gonna close it up. Big respect to everybody that came on today. Big respect to everybody in the chat. This show was fire. Thank you, Pickle. Thank you, Paul. You know what I mean? Because we have to have this kind of conversation. We have to have different perspectives. And I appreciate you guys coming on.
Oh, yeah, man. Wish I could have come on earlier, but I was feeding my kid.
No problem, man.
You got to do.
Facts, 100%. With that being said, peace, love, and hair grease. We're out.